Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the Barroom with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com.
You're listening to the Barroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Steven Zim Zimmerman, Vinnie Parisi, and Chris Gonzalez. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Kaminsky dog with an ice-cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your 2021 South Burbs Hitmen.
That ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs. Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges, throws, out! And the White Sox have won the World Series. Alexei! Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley, and what an unbelievable play by Dwayne White.
First pitch starts now.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen Show. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, and I am joined by my White Sox brother-in-arms. I'm talking about Chris Gonzalez, Steven Zim Zimmerman, and Vinnie Parisi. And first, before we bring on our one of our good friends, our special guest, let's go around the horn real quick. How's everybody doing tonight? How you feeling after this race series? Zim, I'll start with you, bud.
You know, I'm feeling better now that the Sox are on the board tonight, because it was feeling like it was going to take a while. But it did take a while, but they're on the board. Feeling good. It's been a hell of a week. I'll tell you guys, baseball and otherwise, it's been a hell of a week. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. How y'all doing today?
We're good, man. It's we're ready to talk more baseball and White Sox and the whole shebang. Chris Gonzalez, how's things on the West Coast?
West Coast is just absolutely beautiful, and I'm actually really happy for the White Sox that they were able to beat up on the Oakland A's. And Tampa Bay series not go so well, but hopefully the Sox can win the next two series this week on the road.
I love it, man. We are aligned there. And then, of course, I'm going to toss it to Vinnie Parisi. Vinnie, how you doing, brother? Vinnie, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm dumb. That's how I'm doing. It's Cubs week. Speaking of dumb, it's Cubs week. So you got that coming up. That's always exciting. It's always a way for me to get angry, excited, and emotional all in the same week. Pretty stoked about that. I'm sure our guest of honors coming up here is going to enjoy hearing me talk a bunch of smack. And, it's a good time. We got football now. There's plenty of news going on with the NFL and how things are going with baseball. It's a good time to be a sports guy and a sports girl right now.
It certainly is a good time to be in sports, talking White Sox, any Chicago sports, really. And, we have the Crosstown Series coming up this weekend, another game with the Cubs. They're coming to the south side this time, though, 35th and Shields. And we brought on a special guest tonight to walk through it with us to preview Sox Cubs. And, of course, that is our good friend Greg Braggs Jr. from Braggs in the Stands, my old co-host from Shy Fans in the Stands. Greg, what's going on, buddy?
How we doing, gentlemen? Yep. Come here to lick my wounds against you Sox fans. You live in the dream this year. So I stepped into the Lions Den, just a few hours removed from the Vegas Lions Den. Now I'm hopping into another Lions Den. But if I can handle Vegas, I can handle you four jamokes.
I respect you.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
You went through the full grinder. You went straight from Vegas. You came home, and then you went to Bears camp, and now you're on with us. So you've had the full day, Greg.
And I appreciate it too. Yeah, it's been a full day, House Hall, training camp, wrapping up the training camp coverage for the year. And it's been a great year for that. But I appreciate you guys bringing me on because as we speak, my 3-year-old is screaming bloody murder because she doesn't want to go to bed right now. She's got school tomorrow. And I don't have to be a part of that. So thank you for bringing me on here.
Not your problem.
Solid excuse to not have to wrestle her to bed. So fire away. I'm ready for all sorts of conversations so I don't hear that screaming no more.
That's right. We planned it that way. But, of course, as you know and everyone watching knows, Crosstown Series coming up this weekend. What storylines or players are you keeping an eye on ahead of, this series as a Cub fan? Is there any positive things you're looking at lately?
Well, this new kid for the Cubs, Hermosillo, for me as a Cub fan, I've got my eye on him. That I saw earlier, Cody from On Tap, if you guys are familiar with the On Tap crew, he told me about Hermosillo. This guy, I was going to like him, and I like his swag. He brings the right kind of energy that I'm looking for this new core of the Cubs, which, the last 4 weeks we're in the doldrums. We got a bunch of nobodies out there. Frank Schwindel it goes from Javi Baez to Frank Schwindel. So this has been quite a roller coaster season for the Cub fans, but a guy like Hermosillo coming up, had never got his opportunity with the Angels, as Cody was pointing out to me. He's an Illinois local kid. And, he had a quote where he talked about instead of wanting to prove his doubters wrong, he wanted to prove his people that supported him all the way through these years. He wanted to prove them right. And it was a great quote. It's a very long quote. One of the Cubs beat reporters shared. And for me, I loved that mentality. It made me an even bigger fan of his. So, for the Cubs on a small scale of who I'm starting to follow of the next generation of Cubs, which may take a few years. So you just don't know which ones will be a part of the next successful run for the Cubs. That's a guy that I got my eye on. But all things are White Sox right now. I mean, even if you're a Cub fan, it's impossible to deny. They have that. I mean, if you're a Cub fan, you can't help but draw to what the 2016 Cubs did, but they absolutely have that exact same energy, that same line of focus where it just feels like their year. In 2016, I always say in all sports is it when you see it. And especially as Chicago sports fans, we don't get very many successful seasons. So when you have one and you have a team that has it's very apparent because most years we don't get that. So the Sox have that it. And to me, there was no better example of that than the Field of Dreams game. You could feel it. I mean, just watching the game unfold, it was all-star-like atmosphere to watch on TV. The festivities were unbelievable. They're kicking the Yankees' ass, and then all of a sudden the drama happens, as it always does in Chicago sports. Never a dull moment. They blow the lead in the top of the ninth. And Joe saw it. You guys all saw it. I
called
predicted the walk-off because you could just feel it. That's what the White Sox are right now. And they play in the moment. And it was a huge moment. And no better guy than Tim Anderson to hit the walk-off as the fireworks are going off. And it's like every year, anytime a team wins a World Series or a championship, there's always that moment that fans point to as this was the moment you knew it was going to happen. And if the Sox end up winning the World Series and fighting through that whole journey, which it won't be easy. It's not a given, but if they get through it, they get through the gauntlet, and they hold that, they hoist that World Series trophy, that'll be the moment everyone points to, in my opinion, is that Field of Dreams game. I know they're struggling, as I was in Vegas, I heard they were having some tough time putting on runs, but it's a long season, 162 games. That's the ebb and flow of a baseball season. So that's nothing to, freak out about. Obviously, you want your team to play well every day, but what matters is about getting hot when it counts. Once you're in the dance, then it's about getting hot once you get to October. The 2005 Sox were a perfect example of that. They were the best team in baseball the first 4 months of the season. They nearly blew it all the way to the very dire end of the season, but it worked out in a sense because then it turned back around at the exact moment they needed it. And that's what baseball is all about. So you just got to hope timing-wise that's what happens for you guys. But, yeah, all eyes are on the White Sox. So as far as players I'm looking at on your end, Luis Robert getting back, already hitting bombs. Some of these guys that are just coming back from injury because they're the ones that are like the influx of that new energy, that next spark that they needed. Not that they already had enough sparks, but now they've got even more. And then the other thing I'm looking at as a Cub fan, and I don't know if they've figured this out yet since I've been gone, so you'll have to help me out if they have. But the fact that they're not using Craig Kimbrough as the closer, the guy we gave you, you got thanks Cubs for Eloy. You're getting thanks Cubs all over the place because we keep giving you guys players. Why, I don't know. But if we got to help you out, use them correctly. Craig Kimbrough should be your closer. This Liam Hendriks, I like him. He's fiery. But to me, you want that steady, calm mentality closer. I think Liam's a little too up and down. And when you get to the playoffs, that energy might be good, but it could also backfire. We've seen that a few times with him. Craig Kimbrough not only has that calm influence, but he's nails. He's been great all season long. And so if I were the White Sox, that's who my closer would be.
Yeah, it's a conversation we've had on the show, and it's something that's probably going to be figured out the rest of the season. Thank God they have a half a season to figure it out. So well, I hope Tony can figure that out because I think both guys have a place in this pen. And like you said, Kimbrough, he's had a couple rough games with the Sox, but then again, Hendriks has as well. So
the Cubs home run, that was a lucky one. When he gave up the 3-run bomb to that guy, that was luck, So I don't know of the other times he might have struggled, but the one with the Cubs where he blew it, that's luck. And he's had such a great season the whole year. You're going to have a few of those moments, but it feels like Hendriks is a little more up and down. You don't know what to expect when he comes in.
Sure. No, I think that's accurate. But Greg, you mentioned a little bit about the trade deadline, the acquisition of Kimbrough. We got Tepera from you guys. And, obviously the trade deadline was a tough time for you and all diehard Cub fans.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about your reaction when you heard that the core was traded away because, I feel for you as a fan of the White Sox and Chicago sports in general. I can't imagine just all of a sudden, all my favorite players are gone. I mean, what was that like?
It was shock. I mean, even though you could kind of know it and feel it was coming until it actually happens, it's shocking. And I really didn't think they were going to get rid of all three. So when I thought they were going to keep Javi. So once they got rid of Javi, I knew all three were going. So for me, it was the Javi Baez trade announcement that had me in the most shock. I knew Bryant, we couldn't with the agent he has, Drew Rosenhaus, and then Rizzo. To me, it was his time to go. He's been here long enough. He's had a lot of injury issues, as great a career and everything he does on and off the field. I thought it was his time to move on. I thought they'd keep Javi and pair him up with Willie Contreras and build around those two guys as the energy guys and then get some stable guys around them. And then there you go. You get a little quick rebuild. But they wanted to go for as many assets as they could. It was definitely very hard to watch, these guys build them, you guys got all sorts of statues around that stadium. And I would like the Cubs to start building some statues of these guys. And it starts with Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo, and Chris Bryant. You guys got the World Series statue of all the guys jumping in as one. It's time to start building them for these guys because and that's where it makes it a little easier to swallow as far as the pill of trading these guys, because had they not won one, it would be even worse. But they did win one. And you have to, as me as a Cub fan that's an eternal optimist in all sports, you have to put that into perspective. Look at a team like the Atlanta Braves. Made it to the playoffs 15 years in a row and only won once. So beggars can't be choosers. The Cubs didn't win for 108 years. So for them to finally slay the ultimate sports dragon, you got to tip their cap. That's right, PZ. We're talking Cubs. It's Cubs Sox week. No, I'm not making a side bet with my guy Joey Two Scoops this year. No way, no how.
That wouldn't be fair.
I'd be eating my shirt. I'd have to get quite a bit of juice for that kind of a bet. But no, it was shocking to watch those guys go. So, but it was time. Some Cub fans, it wasn't an easy decision, but how inconsistent they've been since they won it. What do you expect them to do? Pay all these guys and expect a different result just because they got money in their pocket? it just wasn't working out. And it doesn't surprise me. They're all playing well elsewhere. It just, for whatever reason, all of them together, Schwarber included, it just didn't work. And sometimes that's just, those are the breaks in sports. And you got to reshuffle the deck. You can't just expect it to change just for change's sake.
That's right.
So it is what it is. But I'm happy the Chicago Cubs won a World Series. It was one of my ultimate dreams to see. They got it done. So on to the next core.
It is on to the next, and you guys got a heck of a player from us, and Nick Madrigal. Are you excited about his potential, or do the hamstring tear injuries kind of worry you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, when he was announced as part of the trade, I was like, man, because I follow a lot of different Sox fans because of all my Bears following stuff, so there's a crossover there, and I couldn't tell if Sox fans liked this guy or didn't like this guy. So I didn't know what to make of it. It seems very split down the middle. So I'm still in a wait and see with this guy, having only watching. I mean, I'm not dialed into the Sox the way you guys are. So I need to see him more in a Cubs uniform to make a fair assessment of how good he can be. But, it sounds like for all analysts in Chicago that follow both teams extremely closely, they felt the trade was fair. So as long as I'm hearing those kind of things and we're not getting fleeced like we all knew the minute we gave up Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease for Jose, which most fans, you could, right away were saying the Sox won that trade. You didn't hear that as much with the Kimbrough move. It sounded like the Cubs got a fair deal in that. So you owed us because you fleeced us on the last one. So I hope he does work out, a little Joey Cora action there, it looks like.
Yeah, man, he's a great player. He's, as long as he comes back healthy, I think it's going to be a great thing for you guys. And, I'm going to miss him. I know it's going to be worth it to get Kimbrough if we get that World Series. But, for me personally, I was a big Madrigal fan and, a little sad to see him go. But if it gets us over the hump, then it's worth it. But, hey, he's not going far. I can still watch him on the north side of Chicago.
You need that closer. You need that guy, that bullpen. If you want to win a World Series, it gets so chaotic once you get into the playoffs. So many different pitching changes and, it'll feel like there's a collapse coming, and you need that bullpen to hold it down every game. Every game's a battle. Yep. It's like a whole season each game. And so, especially when you get to the World Series. So, the Cubs, when they traded for Aroldis Chapman, they had to give up some guys for that. But if they don't make that move, they don't win the World Series. And there was somebody, I can't remember who tweeted out, but they were like, I feel like whoever trades for Craig Kimbrough is going to win the World Series. Well, guess what? You guys did. So, it's definitely going to help your case when you get to October.
I like that mindset, Greg. I appreciate that. And, that's what I got for you, but I'm going to pass you over to Vinnie Parisi. Vinnie, why don't you take things away, brother?
First of all, Greg, thank you so much for joining us. I'm a huge fan. We never actually got to meet until now, so I appreciate you coming on. It's, of course, some good insight there. And, you brought up a couple times the stuff that the trades that went on from the Cubs, Javi, Anthony, Chris. You touched on the ones the White Sox made a little bit. You talked about Nick Madrigal. You're also getting Cody Hoyer, who's a great pitcher with plus stuff. He just got to work on his command a little bit. Then you got a prospect who could throw 100 in exchange for Tepera. They hope they can get him to develop and actually work out. Bailey Horn, I'm talking about. Do you have overall thoughts on the two trades combined that the White Sox and the Cubs made?
Other than the fact that it feels like they were fair trades, as I said before, more so than when we had to give up more to get Quintana because we were desperate at the time for a starter. Mm-hmm. So it felt like we had to give up more than we needed to in that moment. Other than that, I mean, I'm not a minor league follower. When Cody Hoyer came over, I'm like, I'm just being honest. I'm like, who the fuck is Cody Hoyer? Pardon my French, but I didn't know who he was. So it's a new learning experience of getting to know these guys and making my assessment once they get in a Cubs uniform. But from all, on its surface, when you hear it across the board and different fans and analysts takes from it, it makes me feel better when I'm not hearing the Cubs got fleeced. And we, it doesn't mean what fans and media say doesn't amount to anything. It's about what happens, when it's all said and done a few years down the road. But typically when Eloy gets traded and everybody's yelling, thanks Cubs, a few weeks later, I don't get that sense with this time around. it seemed like it was more of a fair deal. And as I said, the White Sox owed us after we gave you guys Eloy and Dylan Cease, who certainly seemed to be working out for you guys. So I appreciate the White Sox doing right by us and giving us some prospects to help build this back up so we can get, hopefully competitive by either, I know next year would probably be dreaming a little too hard, but at least within the next 2 years. So, the Cubs had a stout bullpen to start this year, and they had to break that up to acquire assets. Sounds like some of these guys could potentially be, bullpen or starter. And that's what I mean. For me, it's learning what these guys are going to be all about going down the road. So it's good to hear you describe him as plus stuff. That's what they need. You can't have guys, too many soft tossers for the Cubs the last couple of years. So you need some fireballers in there. Aroldis Chapman, he was the biggest fireballer he is, off the field issues aside, he threw smoke, and that's what you need when you get to the playoffs. So I'll take it. I like Nick, I like the fact that they got a guy like Nick Madrigal who has MLB experience. Most of the time when you make a move like that, you're getting nothing but prospects. So at least you get somebody that has a little bit more juice, a little more of a resume. So that helps, but they're a little far away. So again, some of these guys, even if they're solid, may not even be a part of the next core when they are a good team. You might use a Madrigal next year to trade chip halfway through the season. So, not running out and buying anybody's jerseys as of yet.
100%. It's a little strange seeing them make a fair trade, because the Sosa one, I think you guys would take the winner on. And then, of course, Jimenez, we're all yelling, thanks, Cubs, like you described.
Yeah.
But
thanks a lot, Binetti.
Yeah, thanks, Cubs.
But I do have to give you guys credit. I love you guys as open.
Thank
obviously, as somebody that fan in the stands, that's a really great open. All the different shots, and it's got great heart behind it.
He deserves all the credit for that.
Give tip of the hat to you guys on that.
100%.
And I'm liking Steve Zimmerman's background. This guy looks like he is driving the Death Star right now.
That's what I tell him every week.
I love it. No, it's badass. I love Star Wars, so this is totally badass background. Steve.
Last week it was either this or what was it, Finding Nemo or something like that. Lilo and Stitch. There you go. This week, I don't know what she's watching, Matt. Probably some True TV or something. So I figure this is just a little more professional, Death Star or Batcave aside,
Bust out the Lilo and Stitch. We're in on it. You brought up comparing the White Sox to the 2016 Cubs, but I actually had written down, if you had to pick the 2015 Cubs or the 2016 Cubs to compare this White Sox team to here in 2021, would you pick either one of them, or are they completely different from either of the two?
It's such a tough question and a great one, too. I mean, ultimately, it'll depend on whether the White Sox win the World Series, but it is more so 2016. Last year was your 2015, and unfortunately for you guys, in my opinion, it was in a shortened season, chaotic season. Like for the 2015 Cubs, they played 162 games, a normal playoff schedule, and they fell short. They won a few. They beat the Cardinals. It was a huge moment. They won the wild card game against the Pirates. So they got success, some of the building blocks that you need once you get back to the playoffs to win your World Series like they did. That helped them. The Sox, they didn't get that opportunity. They didn't get a chance to play 162 games. They didn't get a chance to move on to the second round of the playoffs. And some of those things help because it's a journey. And once you get to the second round, it's a whole nother journey. Then you get to the World Series, it's a whole nother journey. So, will the Sox be able to take the limited playoff experience they have with this core and do the whole damn thing? It certainly feels like it. And that's why I feel it's more aligned with 2016, especially when you consider the injuries. When Kyle Schwarber went down for the Cubs, normally Cub fans would be like, it's over. Our Babe Ruth is gone. We're screwed. They didn't. They did not blink, and they powered through that season, and then, boom, Kyle Schwarber comes back and helps them win a World Series. That was so unlike the Cubs to have that happen. Well, look at the White Sox. The exact same thing. Maybe even more so with talking about catastrophic injuries. They have not blinked. They take these guys, big-time players, fan favorites, and the team doesn't blink, the fan base doesn't blink, and it just seems like they continue to charge away at what their goal is. And I got to give it to the Sox because they opened the season with a video that was making a statement that was basically World Series or bust. And I thought that was really taking a step because, like, I don't even know if the 2016 Cubs necessarily put a video like that out to start the year. And that was a statement, but they were confident in the talent they had on that team, and they're putting their money where their mouth is as of right now. Will they get through it all? I'm sure Yankees, Sox, and the ALCS is going to be a hell of a battle. But until we get to that point, yeah, it absolutely feels like the 2016 Cubs. For me, it's impossible to not make that correlation. They have the exact same vibes. Now, the Cubs, they barely won. Barely. And it won't surprise me. I know that when the 2005 Sox won, it felt like a walk in the park the way they did it. And it just everything fell their way. And
that was
sweeping series, and different players in each round had injuries for the opposite team that certainly helped in ways.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Cub fan in me coming out with the things I used to say to Sox fans, but it was true. They had some things fall their way. Roger Clemens was hurt in the World Series. Obviously, that doesn't help the Astros. So it probably will not go that way this time. They're going to probably have to fight much harder to get this one. It doesn't normally come as easy as it did. It will Eloy Jimenez fucking run to first base on a drop third strike? I don't know. We'll find out, but as of right now, it definitely feels like their time, but it ain't. It certainly isn't going to be easy. Nothing ever is in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, it's hard to win. You look at the last couple World Series champions, and we're talking game 7s or, crazy stuff all across the board. But I got special permission from Mr. Joe Mandel to ask you this question.
Oh, boy.
Because it has absolutely nothing to do with baseball. But I have to ask you while I have you in front of my face. Does Matt Nagy annoy you as much as he annoys me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I root for him. I root for him just as much as I rooted for any player
to land your plane.
I mean, no, he's not trustworthy. He annoys me beyond belief. I've tried to tell people for years that he is just as big of the problem as it was the quarterback that everyone wanted to dog and drag through the mud. And I got called a truther for that for a long time by guys like Chris Bleck. And now all of a sudden that he's gone, it's okay to now point everything towards Nagy, and there's no truther sentiments attached to the people saying those things. And people, I think, I thought people learned their lesson last year when Nick Foles came in and it got significantly worse. But apparently they didn't, and it was still easy to continue to blame everything on Mitch because Chicago loves a scapegoat. Boy, do we love our scapegoats. And, not absolving Mitch Trubisky of the blame of not being good enough. Obviously should have drafted Mahomes, should have drafted Watson. We know the whole story, but I've just always said he's not as bad as everyone makes him out to be. With the right coach and the right team around him, he could have been competent or someone that you can win with, not someone that's, going to be headed to the Hall of Fame or anything like that. In 2018, I thought he was on a trajectory to be one of the best Bears quarterbacks of all time. But the last couple of years, it was obvious he wasn't. But it was also abundantly clear that the rest of the team didn't have their stuff together. And that's a reflection of Matt Nagy. All the undiscipline across the board, drop passes, penalties, no understanding of how to run the ball, no understanding of how to balance the run game off the pass, situational third down play calling. Pitching it to Cordero Patterson when you have David Montgomery, walking up to the podium after only running it 6 times and saying, I didn't come here to run the I formation. These are serious red flags. We didn't bring you here to run the I formation, but the I formation is very important to run for any football team. You're not reinventing the wheel. It's football. I promise you the Kansas City Chiefs, who he's trying to replicate, they run the I formation. So Matt Nagy is an egomaniac and sometimes definitely feels like he's in over his head. And it's scary to see if he's going to be able to figure this out. It felt like with the acquisition of Justin Fields and the turning of the vibes, because it was getting real dark there for a minute when we were lost at sea with no quarterback. So it was easy to get back to getting lost in the sauce. But now, after we had our fun for one preseason game, and then Mitch comes in here and trounces us, and Justin Fields' head almost gets knocked off. And now we're back to now all the arrows, and I've said this for a while. For anybody that thought Matt Nagy's leash got extended a couple years, I try to tell people, slow down, because it's a long season, and the more we see those things, those inconsistencies, those what are you doing moments, or what did you just say in the podium moments, the more he does those, the more we're going to be like, wait a minute, you're the problem. You're the problem here. And that's what you're already seeing. We're not even into the regular season yet. And he's got a tough decision to make on when he's going to bring Justin Fields in. He's become public enemy number one because of that. And, his whole coaching career hinges on that decision and getting it right, however he wants to do it, but it has to be the right way. And so, I'm definitely just as annoyed with him, but I also root for him. Like, I think, again, you got to keep perspective, just like with the Cubs. Is it disappointing they didn't win 2 or 3? Sure. But as I said, the Atlanta Braves only won 1 in 15 years. Does that mean they were a crappy franchise? No. That's just how it is in sports. So you have to carry a little perspective with Matt Nagy as well. He has a really good record, win-loss wise. Yes, it's been aided by a defense that he doesn't necessarily run, but it's his team. It's his watch. And when he came in here, before he got here, the Bears were terrible for 10 years, never made the playoffs once. They were as unwatchable as any football team you could possibly have. And since he's gotten here, they made the playoffs twice, albeit it's had its ups and downs. And so, it's definitely – we've raised the bar of expectations, and that's because of what Matt Nagy has tried to build here. Now, is he in over his head to try to get us to the Super Bowl echelon? Maybe. But I'm rooting for him to figure it out. So I try to keep perspective, because it isn't as bad as it was before he was here. But we obviously should always want better. Until we get what we want, which is a championship, we should all want better for our Chicago Bears or our White Sox or our Cubs. That doesn't mean that and that's where people go off the rails. He's not the worst coach of all time, but he's still got a lot to learn as far as being a head coach in the NFL. And that, that's just a fact. You're seeing it, you're seeing it in the last week.
I appreciate that analysis more than like everything you said just got me all fired up. It's nice being a multi-sport guy, because you can do that and then, go right back over to baseball. So I appreciate that. Just as annoyed as you, but like you said, rooting for him is like rooting for your pilot to land your plane, even though he's like a jerk. Like, you want our football team to do good, and that hinges on Matt Nagy making proper decisions.
Of course.
To get us right back into baseball, I'm going to hand you over to Steven Zimmerman. I appreciate your time. Great.
Darth Zimmerman.
You know your stuff. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate, you guys, like I said, stepping into the lion's den, but you guys are great hosts. And Vinnie Parisi, you should have been a world-class hockey player, man. I love the name. It just flows off the tongue.
Yeah, well, I make up for it by doing a hockey show. That's
I know that. I absolutely know that. So, like I said, it's a Hall of Fame hockey name to its core. It's Chicago to its core, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So, no, we're not going to jump quite right back into baseball. We're gonna slowly dip our toes into baseball here, right?
Whatever you need. I'm ready to fire away at anything. We can talk
all
about
right. Well, we were just talking about Nagy. So the White Sox very famously hired Tony LaRussa, of all people, to manage this team.
Crazy.
Seemed insane at first, but slowly as the season's gone on, it seems like it's made a little bit more sense the closer we get to the playoffs. Who do you think gets relieved of their duties, we'll say, first? Matt Nagy or Tony LaRussa, whether it's on their own decision or somebody else's? Who goes first?
That is a great question, Darth Zimmerman. This is a great question, man. That's tough.
I don't even know what I think.
If they don't win one, the White Sox that being, because it's not a given. He's getting older, so it's only a matter of time. Who's the manager in training behind him?
Right. Well, so they've got
Miguel Cairo, probably.
They've got Miguel Cairo as their bench coach, who we've debated whether he's being trained for this position or just for a managerial position elsewhere. We also know that Paul Konerko may or may not be potentially interested depending on his personal future.
And let me ask you guys this, not to cut you off, but let me ask you this. Do you think that any manager could have walked into this White Sox team and they would have the same success because of the bevy of talent this team has?
No, I don't think
Ordinarily,
so. Look at last year.
Like how has he
Right.
been managing the bullpen? Like I don't follow him as closely. I watch some Sox games, but I'm not watching every pitch, every inning.
well, I'll put it this way. I think the Kimbrough move is partially because of LaRussa.
Yes.
So that might give you at least some insight into that kind of how
his
he's
bullpen
trying to manage
management-
this team.
Yeah, his bullpen management, I think, has been very strong this year, as well as
And
his
for an AL
relationship-
coach, that's pretty much all his duties are. He's not double switching. Like in the NL, there's a little more to it. So it's basically just about bullpen management and setting your lineup, which can't be that hard with the freaking murderers row you guys got over there.
It could be pretty hard. Look at Rick Renteria.
Well,
Normally-
but they were young, so they wouldn't have been terrible with Rick, but they certainly might not be as good as they are, especially when you consider how they powered through the injuries. And I have been surprised by Tony LaRussa because it started off bad. Like the optics were bad. The fans didn't like it. They weren't behind it. You had the whole situation where he was telling his own players to apologize for, showing off. And that's not the Sox vibes. They want to, pump their chests out. But he just steady as can be. Didn't listen to any of that stuff. You see him turning the hat sideways. He's running out and defending his team. And now before you know it, all that stuff is kind of put to the past. And I didn't think he was going to get through it at first because of how hard the White Sox fans were being on him. So it is a huge credit to him. I mean, he's an old man, so he's not bothered by any of stuff. He's not on Twitter, so he's not listening to all his talking heads on there. So, certainly that kind of a guy helps a young team. I had always thought when Tony first got here, I was like, I thought a guy like Ozzie would be perfect for them, just a fiery dude. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe they need a steady presence, as they go into the playoffs, somebody that isn't going to show emotion either way, whichever way it goes, because the players play with so much emotion. So you need that steady guy instead of like Ozzie, like rattling the cages every game. So, I've definitely been impressed by him. I mean, how old is this dude? And he's still got it, man. And he was out of the game for so long. Yeah. I mean, that was a big moment, and that's the kind of stuff that then the team will now rally around you, So as Tony LaRussa was a manager of our rivals in our division, the Cardinals, many years, him versus Dusty Baker, and I've seen plenty of great teams, that would do anything for Tony LaRussa. Cardinals players stand by him to this day. So yeah, I was just surprised he still got it at that age. You'd think, oh, he's kind of not all up there, with his age, but he's not showing that. It seemed like that maybe at first, but I think that was just fans being emotional. So that's a great question, Steve. I mean, at this point, the smart money is on Nagy losing his job first, because I would say Tony's probably got at least this year and next year, possibly 3 years. You think that he would go 3 years if they were successful each year, but not necessarily. Yeah. I think if he wins the World Series, he retires, right? Do you guys think that?
I completely agree.
I agree.
Yes.
So let's say
even
if
if it's
they
this
don't
year.
win the World Series, but they're just really good for the next 2 years. Does he manage for 3 years, or does he dip out after 2?
I think
that's
it's
fair. I think it all depends
Matt
on if that
could get fired after this year if he screws this up. So the smart money is on Matt right now.
Yeah.
But if the White Sox win the World Series, that's in October. He could retire right after that.
I don't think LaRussa is going to get fired.
Not even fired. He said just not the coach either way, through retirement or firing.
Right.
Yeah. Who will have the longer tenure as of from this
that's $1 million. That's a great question, Steve. It is a really tough one.
I genuinely think that they could actually both no longer be coaching by this time next year. Like within a matter of weeks, this baseball off season and, shortly after the football season, I think literally in about a 7-week period, LaRussa could retire and Nagy could get fired. That's just my opinion. I think it's totally possible.
Hope Nagy doesn't get fired because that means the whole season went to
Yeah,
crap.
exactly.
But you're 100% right, and especially the way things are going right now. But we're emotional as Chicago sports fans, and I think people got to let the season play out and let's see how it, because at some point Justin Fields is going to save us all. We all know this.
Oh,
and
that's right.
That could include Matt Nagy too.
He will lead us to the promised land, 100%.
God willing.
So, all right. Now to go back all the way to baseball. We're done with the football. At least I am. I'm going to actually be in town this weekend for this Sox Cubs series, right?
Very nice.
Joe's taking me to a game. He's an amazing co-host and, an okay guy, but
he's all right. He's all right. No, he's the best. Joe is my brother in arms as well.
I'm so excited to go see these two teams play each other in person. I've seen the Cubs, I've seen the Sox, never against each other.
Oh man, you're in for a treat.
What are some of your favorite moments, either that you've seen live or that you've seen on TV between these two teams, the Eloy walk-off or the Perzinski Barrett fight are probably some of my favorites.
That's the top. That goes to the top of the list.
Of course.
I'll never forget where I was. Just gotten off work early. It was a Saturday. Get home. I was still in my work clothes, watching this play develop, and I went crazy. I mean, it was just, and at that time, the White Sox Cub rivalry was at its peak because both teams were good.
Yeah,
the Cubs had almost won a World Series. Then the Sox were good, and when both teams are good, which rarely happens, this is the kind of stuff that happens because the players feed off the energy of the fans. And when both teams are good, when it's the other way around and it's just one fan base just mocking the other team for being so terrible, and it happens both ways, and this time it's the Cubs fans that got to wear it, it's pretty docile in the crowd because the other team that sucks, their fan base can't really get too fired up. But when both teams are good, this is the kind of stuff you get on and off the field. There's fights in the stands, there's fights on the field, and that was an ultimate peak moment for Cubs and Sox. There's no question that's where it starts. And, there's been so many different memories. I mean, of course, you had who hit the grand slam walk-off around that time, Joe, for the White Sox against the Cubs.
Oh, jeez.
Not
Jose Valentine?
Not Jose.
Carlos Lee.
Carlos Lee hit the grand slam walk-off. That was a big game. I think I might have been at that one. One that breaks my heart was Ted Lilly had a no-hitter at Wrigley Field going into the ninth inning against the White Sox, and I have never seen a no-hitter. And if I could have seen my first no-hitter against the freaking White Sox, I mean, it would have been a pinnacle moment of my life. And they were 3 outs away. And Juan freaking Pierre, who also played for the Cubs for a period of time, but also stabbed us in the heart many a times as a Marlin, and then, breaking up the no-hitter as a White Sox. That was tough. The Cubs ended up winning, but that was the closest I've ever been to seeing a no-hitter in person. So that one sticks out for me. I mean, I've been to games where the Cubs hit like 6-7 home runs and, we're talking all sorts of smack leaving Wrigley Field. I mean, so many great memories. I mean, it can get a little too hostile in the crowd. When I was 21, I used to enjoy that kind of stuff. I'd go, I mean, truth be told, I'd go out to the stands looking for a fight. That's what we did, when we were 18, 19, 20, 21, or, anybody that said something wrong, you're getting tough with. That's this male machismo bravado that for whatever reason, young, dumb meatballs can't help themselves with. And then the combination of drinking and all that just dials it up even more. I was happy to see, at the Cubs Sox, I was in the bleachers with my co-host and good friend Johnny B, who's a Sox fan. We're having fun with everybody. I'm giving everybody shit about the L flag. But then by the end of the game, I took pictures with the guys with the L flag. They got the championship WWF belt with White Sox on it, where Eloy Jimenez, he wears his pocket inside out. So for every inning, we're yelling pockets out to him, and everybody in the stands, Cubs and Sox fans together, all pulling their pockets out as Eloy comes running out. And he's very playful with the bleacher bums, and Cub fans appreciate that stuff when a player will respond and mess back. And most of the time, everyone keeps it cordial. There's no personal jabs. It's normally kept pretty cordial unless somebody's too drunk. But I think the bleachers is good about checking those type of individuals. So I hope on the south side there isn't too many fights that break out. They do happen, unfortunately, which ruins it for some people that want to go to the games, but doesn't deter me.
Yeah, that crap happens at pretty much any game, unfortunately. I've been to my fair
Well,
share
you just
of...
saw like the Rams fight.
Yeah.
It happens. There's idiots everywhere, and not just in sports. And so that comes with the territory, unfortunately. But as I said, I don't think I heard many things of that nature at Wrigley for 3 games. So, you be in the White Sox house. So I'm sure Sox fans will be a little more puffy chested. They're very proud of their team, but Cub fans are beaten down right now. Like if you turn on, how many times have you heard jokes about Sox fans not filling their stadium? Turn on the Cubs game right now. There's literally 12 people. There's 12 people there. So it's, we are beaten down. I don't even know how many Cub fans are even going to show up there next weekend. Normally, we help. The joke is, or for Cub fans, is that we help fill your stadium when we go there. But I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think it's going to be 95% Sox fans. I don't think you're going to see this huge wave of Cub fans like you normally see at Cub Sox because we're just beaten into submission. I've moved on to football for the most part. Obviously, I'll watch Cub Sox and keep my eye towards it. And I'm going to keep my eye on the White Sox all the way through their World Series attempt. But, right now Cub fans are just beaten into a pulp. So
you're still beating us in attendance.
I mean, that doesn't surprise, but how do they work those numbers? Because there's literally 12 people there today. So do they attendance of tickets actually scanned when they come through, or is it tickets bought for the game?
I think it's sold. Yeah.
I've always wondered that too. And like, how does the attendance or the capacity of the park play into a factor too? Like, I don't know.
Well, and you remember when the White Sox won the World Series that year, their attendance numbers weren't that great. It was the next year
was way better. Yeah.
It was the next year where they set the record
insane.
Or they passed 3 million or whatever the number was for the first time in their franchise history. And then they ended up not being as good that year. So it'll be interesting with the White Sox because you're certainly seeing a new influx of this fan base that you haven't seen before. It's starting to get somewhat Cub-like as far as their fanfare and emotions. And it just feels like there's more of you all of a sudden, and maybe in the way that the Blackhawks had a lot of people start to come on board, that could very well be what happens with the White Sox if they can sustain this success for over a 5-year window, as opposed to just being a one-hit wonder like we see with all Chicago sports teams. They can never just be good for 10 years like a Boston team. But maybe if this core of young players, exciting players, talented, they got great charisma, energy, personality across the board, maybe this will be what starts to bring the Sox fan base closer to the fold. They'll maybe never hit what the Cubs fans are. And I know there's a lot of tourist jokes that are attached to the Cubs, but for me, there's a lot of diehard Cub fans that are true blues sitting out there like Bleacher Jeff, and yes, they do have the tourist appeal because it's a historical landmark. Babe Ruth freaking played at Wrigley Field. I mean, that's just comes with the territory. It's an amazing. It's the Chicago Bears started their franchise there, so you can't deny the history of Wrigley Field. But now I think the White Sox are going to start moving into that next stratosphere of what their fan base is. Now that this team, I mean, you can't help but be proud of who they are if you're a White Sox fan. I mean, look, they're so much fun to watch. That Field of Dreams game was one of the best non-Cubs games I have ever watched ever for baseball, period. To watch those balls fly into the cornfields, to watch him hit that walk-off as the fireworks going off, and he's going like this, like that puts chills down my spine right now talking about it. That's badass. I heard somebody suggest, and I agreed with this person, the way the Lions play every year on Thanksgiving, the White Sox should host that game every year, and somebody plays the White Sox. And I hate saying that because I don't want to give the White Sox an inch, but it's the truth. I mean, the movie is about the White Sox player, right? So, and then look at how they played. So to me, until they're not a good team, they should be the ones that are the home team every year. You got Gene Honda announcing the players in the cornfield. Gene Honda's a legend, you know? So to me, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So, you know, I just think the sky's the limit where the franchise is going, that entire franchise is going. It really is. Sky's the limit.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you entertaining my questions. And I think you kind of answered this unwritten third one I had here. So I'm going to go ahead and just toss it on over to Gonzo, because I know he had some questions about that Field of Dreams game for you. And I'd like to hear what your answers are there.
Of course.
Greggy Sunshine, how we doing, man?
I am doing great. I'm running on fumes.
Hey, I'm surprised you didn't pop the jack out already, man. It should be flowing heavily right now.
Got it right here, brother.
There it is.
Take a swig. Take a good swig of that.
No, never. I'm never drinking again.
I'll leave it next weekend.
You should have seen me at the pool club on Saturday.
I'll take your word for it, Greg. I'll take your word for it. I saw you taking your photos with your buds, and I knew it was going to be some bad choices were going to be made when a 30-plus-year-old is already getting all decked out.
Well, see, I was with a bunch of 27-year-olds, so I was the 35. They're all calling me dad the whole weekend. So surprisingly enough, I made the best decisions of the weekend. Not to say that there weren't bad decisions made, but I held it as close to the vest as I would have ever. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself. I guess I'm growing up a little bit.
So Field of Dreams talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, two things for you. One, I want to know, will Brags in the Stands in your second year go to the Field of Dreams game next year? And then two, I want you to expand a little bit more about the Sox-Yankees Field of Dreams game. And was it really your favorite regular season moment that you've seen, or expand on that for me?
Yeah. To start with that, I would call it the best non-Cubs game I have ever watched. I don't know if I've seen a better regular season non-Cubs game. Obviously with the Cubs, that's personal, but for just as a spectator standing on the sidelines watching this whole thing unfold, the pregame festivities, Kevin Costner. I don't even really like the movie all that much. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not my favorite movie ever. But just to see them come out of the cornfields, the players come out of the cornfield, the pictures, I'm big with pictures and videos. Like, I'm just salivating thinking about how cool it would be to be there for this. And then just the drama of how it ended, the way the ball disappears into the cornfields, how they built that whole campus. The fans walk through the cornfield to get to their seats. Like, it was one of the coolest things. Baseball doesn't get a lot of things right. They got that right. And then Tim Anderson doing that coming off, like, that's an epic moment in White Sox history. I mean, that's up there with anything they've ever done, World Series or otherwise. I mean, you're talking about, like I said, taking this team to the next stratosphere. I mean, how many times have we heard Sox fans complain about not getting that national appeal? This was like an all-star game, and all the best players on both teams showed up, and you guys finished it. Put the cherry on top. The guy that some people in Chicago think should be the face of the MLB with the way he carries himself and the way he plays, batting champ and everything else. So it, to me, was electric to watch. It just was. And I love the intimacy. It scares me because, yes, I am dying to see this field. I'm dying to see this game. And this is limited tickets. I have a few connections that I might be able to work through. But if not, these tickets go for $3,000 a pop, And I'm pissed that they scheduled the Cubs to play there next year. I truly think it should be White Sox versus somebody else next year. I don't like that it's the Cubs and the Reds. Both of them teams suck.
Yeah, nobody likes
two teams that suck at this game. Like, I know they have old school history to them, and that's why maybe they chose them. But come on, wait till the Cubs are good. I don't want to spend that much money to go out there and watch a bad baseball team in the cornfields. It is only going to work. It won't be as cool as what the White Sox did, because the team isn't as good. The game's not going to be as good. That's what made it the total package. So, yeah, I mean, I was just totally floored by how cool the entire game was from start to finish, pregame ceremonies all the way to the walk-off home run. I even kept watching postgame coverage because of how cool it was. But, yeah, I am going to be trying to go to the Field of Dreams game next year. Like I said, I have a few connections that I'm going to work those angles on, and I'll stay at Tooch's house to save money. And, you know, it's like, I don't know what else to, but I'm nervous about, you know, like having to shell money out for a bad baseball team that's going to play in the cornfields. It kind of irritates me that I knew it was only a matter of time before they play there, but I'm disappointed that they picked next year. I really am. So I'll be there, but I'm going to be disappointed unless the Cubs somehow are a better team than anyone anticipates, which I don't think is a great chance.
Well, I know that if you do go there, you're going to get some great moments. Just knowing you and
oh my God,
how hard you work with, you know, around stadiums or fields in general. I mean, we've all seen your hard work at play.
Absolutely.
This next topic that I'm going to get to here is going back to kind of what you said about 15, 16 Cubs from that perspective of down the stretch in the season that you've witnessed in recent years here. But what is one thing for the remainder of the regular season for us Sox fans would you want to see from this team headed into what we call Sextober?
I mean, not much. They've shown everything they need to show. Now, like I said earlier, it's about them getting hot at the right time. You know, and we won't know if that's going to happen until the playoffs start. It's all fun. You guys get to live it up. If I was a Sox fan, I'd stop complaining each day to day until you get to because when the playoffs start, it's money on the table time. So yeah. I'd enjoy this while you got it because when the playoffs start, the fun's over and it's stressful. Because, I mean, you only get so many shots at this. And the Sox, I'm sure, will be great for years to come. But it's not a guarantee. Look what happened to the Cubs. It could turn. I mean, look what happens to any Chicago sports team. We're club dubbing for Bears 100, thinking we're going to the Super Bowl in 2019, and it's been a complete crap show since then. It was embarrassing how we were giving these guys the flowers at Bears 100 and what they showed in 2019, the first game out the gate. So we're always one corner away from being slapped with some humble pie. So next year isn't promised to the White Sox, even as great as their core is. So this is your shot. And maybe next year you'll have another shot, but you don't know that. So this year, it's all about getting hot at the right time. It's impossible to gauge how the best way of that happening. Like, are you going to get nervous if they're on a 14-game winning streak to end the year? I would be if I was a Sox fan because it's baseball is a law of averages. And, but do you really want them on a 6-game losing streak to end the year? No. So, it's impossible to gauge. It's just about being healthy, getting to the dance healthy. And then when it starts, stepping up in the clutch like they did in the Field of Dreams game and getting hot at the right time. And it's just – It's if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, man. And it's impossible to gauge how that's going to go. But no, there isn't too much I'm looking for other than I do believe Craig Kimbrough, and I know it just got put in the chat and maybe we jinxed him here talking about him today. I guess he gave up the lead, but he probably gave up the lead not as the closer. I believe he should be the closer of this team. I stand by that. I watched him all year this year, and he's nails in that role. And I think, if he's shaky as the setup guy and Hendricks is up and down, I know he's got a lot of talent when he's on, but if he's up and down as the closer, switch them and see how they fill those roles. And you got to try it now. You can't wait. Try it now. And to me, it shouldn't be a try thing. You trade for Craig Kimbrough, he should be your closer. I don't know if Liam Hendricks would take offense to that or something. I mean, come on. That to me was a no-brainer move that he hasn't made yet. So I guess if anything, because there's really nothing else. I mean, that's it. They got to figure that 8th and 9th inning out. And other than that, it's just about staying healthy and getting hot at the right time. That's it.
I can appreciate that perspective that you said because, for us Sox fans, we see how toxic the Sox Nation is on Twitter for just about anything. And lately,
White
lately,
Sox Twitter gets fired up.
Yes,
lately
it does.
they've been
Wow.
getting on Johan Mercado, even though he's on a 10-game hit streak. But it is what it is. I guess Sox fans that don't get to appreciate this type of seasons too much have that negative nature and complain about anything, even though the team is 18 games above 500. But let's see here. How about, is there a particular postseason matchup that you're hoping to see, just as the baseball fan of yourself, in this postseason coming up?
1,000%. Cubs Yankees. I don't know if the Yankees are going to get there or not, but after watching what we saw in the Field of Dreams game, with the kind of firepower they have with Aaron Judge, Gallo, and who's their other big bopper? Help me out here, guys.
Stanton.
Giancarlo
Stanton.
And Rizzo.
Right, and then Rizzo, who didn't even play in that Field of Dreams game, versus your Murderers Row. You got the original Murderers Row team and the new Murderers Row, the new era Murderers Row. That's 1,000% who I want to see. Yankees, White Sox in the ALCS. The Cubs aren't making it to the World Series. White Sox, Yankees in the ALCS. That is, I need to see that rematch after the Field of Dreams. I want 7 of those. I
think it's coming. Those Yankees are the hottest team in baseball right now, like 21.
They should be.
Since the
they
break.
Trade for all those
something
players.
like that.
Jeez Louise, they're loaded. Come on, they should be. I can't believe that they're not even more so in playoff contention. I guess that's why they made all the moves, but yeah, they should be. That's the matchup I want to see 1,000%.
They are now. They've won 9 in a row and they're beating the Braves. I think they have a better record than the White Sox now.
Yeah. And Robert Mandel, and that's not an exact science about how you get hot at the right time. As I said, the 2005 White Sox were plummeting to end. They almost missed the playoffs. People forget that. They were about to blow it in like 69 Cubs epic proportion, and they just held on. And then all of a sudden they play the Red Sox, and El Duque has his big – and then all of a sudden it all flips, And so, sports are weird like that. You just don't know how it's going to go or what's going to be that thing that changes the momentum. And so, it's not an exact science of how they get hot at the right time, but that's the key.
Well, Greg, I appreciate my time with you. I'm going to toss it to Joe here.
Thanks, buddy. And Greg, I just got to say, man, it's so nice having you on the show, getting back to like our old vibes, the Shy fans in the stands vibes, talking, sitting in the stands. Hopefully you make it out I'll be there with Zim on Saturday. If you make it out to Sox Park, let us know, because we're going to be there grabbing some dogs early at 35th Street Red Hots right there down on 35th Street. So let us know if you make it out, because that's going to be a ton of fun. But the number one question I got to ask you before we go, don't you miss this?
I miss you. I miss it. I miss your warm embrace. Miss your warm embrace. I guess we should just call it now, since we're just avid Batman fanatics, that when the Batman comes out, we make sure that's our date. Maybe we'll bring our wives, but me and you are certainly going, and we're holding hands and sharing popcorn.
That's right. The Batman and the new Flash with Michael
Keaton. Oh,
and
the Flash. You might see me cry at that movie when Michael Keaton comes out as the OG Batman, my favorite Batman all time. I seriously might cry when I see that. So, now you got 2 dates planned for sure.
That's it.
So
Batman and Star Wars. Me and Greg can go all day.
And
Vinny likes Star Wars too.
Yeah, all day long on both those. Batman was my original love, but and I definitely want to do some crossover work with you guys. As you see over my shoulder, I've been linked up with the Collector's Cave, a memorabilia company that's based out of the region. Really good guys. Mike and Aaron, they do an incredible job, and they do a lot of White Sox stuff. And for me, that's not my that's not my wheelhouse. And we do a lot of live shows when they do public signings. They just had Scott Podsednik at Buffalo Wings and Rings.
I know, I saw that. Yeah,
awesome. And so, they've got a White Sox signing coming up in November, I believe is the next date. And
Jeff Blum.
Yeah, Jeff Blum. And so we need to start putting some wheels in motion where as many as you guys, I know, Steve, you don't live locally, but you guys come out and we do a live show and you guys be a part of it and you guys can carry the load, and I can just come by and help because I'm not a White Sox fan, but we had talked about doing some White Sox Cubs stuff. And then, just life's moving so fast. It's hard, but I definitely want to do some crossover stuff with you. And
absolutely, brother.
And they certainly, like I said, have a lot of different White Sox connections. So be happy to throw you guys some really good guests your way. It's just life. It has not slowed down for me since I moved into my new house. So trying to do everything I can step by step, but still hold true to my house, home, family, and job.
Sure.
Which, as you guys can see, is a juggling act. But certainly we need to set these things up, put some wheels in motion. I can certainly help out as much as I can. And Joe, I will always be there to help out in any way I can for you, my brother. Of course, you guys too, but Joe's on a different level. We've been through the battles.
Hey, I kept you dry during 2 tornadoes, so I should be somewhat up there.
This is true. I apologize, Chris. This is true. Between you and Acevedo, you guys are godsend, and my wife. I shouldn't leave out my wife. I'm doing a live show with my first ever live show, Jim McMahon and Catch, and I've got tornadoes going out behind me, and Jenny's like, stop doing the show. I'm like, never. Like, I would be damned if my first ever live show ends like that. So I got Chris tearing down my set behind me, putting all my electronics in the car while we're just babbling along with freaking Doug Plank and everything else. So yes, Chris, you are owed a huge amendment or whatever word. I'm losing my train of thought trying to come up with the verbiage after 4 days in Vegas, but you are a commendable friend for doing that day and just coming out to show your support. That does mean a lot. I know it was like your last day in the area, and I'm always very humbled by all the support I get. I never really thought I'd do any of the coverage that I do. So for anybody to reach out, and especially to come out for something like that meant a lot to me in a big way. So I really do appreciate that on a big level.
Well, when we collab, you could take my spot while Vinny and Joe do the shows, because when I'm on the West Coast, you can take my spot, and I know you do a solid job at it. So.
Yeah, and maybe next year when we get a little more time, if my life ever does slow down and we can actually plan it correctly, we can try to do something where you guys come to town, we do a full show. Maybe we can get a guy like Ozzie Guillen to show up. Who knows?
Oh yeah, love it, Greg. And yeah, man, we, like you said, we appreciate the hell out of you, and we love you like a brother. Why don't you tell everyone? You talked a little bit about your coverage and all your stuff going on, but why don't you tell everyone, one, where they could find you on social media, and two, kind of what you got coming up this football season?
Yeah, of course. Training camp just wrapping up. Did a lot of fun coverage. I was proud of myself for what I put out here in the last month for Brags in the Stands, which is the show. You can see it over my head there. Little logo action going on. And it's been a year in the making. You guys are probably coming up on your 1 year anniversary with what you guys are doing as well. And so it's been 1 year of doing this now and building it up slowly but surely. And, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Just search Brags in the Stands. Or if you want to just find my personal Twitter account, which I do a lot of coverage on, at GBragsJr23. And yeah, it's all Bears all day right now. I've put the Cubs in the back burner of my mind, so I don't have to cry anymore. Save my tears for another day. And so it's Chicago Bears football coming right up around the corner. One more preseason game, and then you got the opener against the Rams on Sunday Night Football, and then I'll be at the home opener against the Bengals with Nick Verha, another good friend of mine. That's right. On the 23rd show, which is my lucky number. I mean, it's everybody's lucky number in Chicago, with Michael Jordan, Devin Hester, Ryan Sandberg, Robin Ventura, Jermaine Dye. You got even to a lesser extent, Kyle Fuller and Jerry Azuma, even Golden Tate from Notre Dame. I know there's a lot of Notre Dame transplants in Chicago. So 23 is king. in Chicago, 23rd show. So that is fitting, no question about it. So appreciate you guys having me on today, like I said, and thank you guys for all the support. I try to do my best to throw the support back. That was a cool video you got, Joe, of and Vinny. I think you had a video of it too, of Justin Fields throwing out the first pitch at Comiskey, as I still call it. That was a great moment. Really cool.
It was cool. The people were fired up.
Yeah.
When somebody commented like, "Oh, the White Sox fans are being quiet," I'm like, I don't know if the video just didn't come through right, but it was loud there.
I was so pissed when we drafted him. I knew he was going to be at Wrigley that weekend of the weekend we drafted him, and I had tickets for Saturday, and I just knew he was going to be there on Friday, and I had to work. Sure as shit, he's out there. He didn't throw out the first pitch. He was just in the skybox. And I was furious that I was not there to capture that moment because I'm all about capturing the moment at a game. So that was really cool that you guys were able to be there to see that. So let's not tear Justin apart with what baseball team he wants to pick. Let's just leave him with the Bears.
He could pick both. That's fine.
Yeah, root for all Chicago sports teams. When
That's
you're
right.
the Bears quarterback, you're better off that way.
He could root for the Cleveland Guardians for all I care. Help us win a damn Super Bowl.
Amen. That's absolutely
That's it, man.
Echo those sentiments. But yeah, again, I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. It was a lot of fun, man. I love chopping it up. I wasn't sure how well I was going to be able to hold my own because I've been off the baseball beat here for a few weeks, but I knocked the dust off and I did my best for you guys.
Hey,
Oh,
it sounds like
perfect,
you've
man.
watched more games lately than I have. So, if I can fake it, you can fake it.
Yeah, well, it's always, I got the setup here, so you always got one TV that's dedicated to your White Sox, and I'm jealous over here.
Well, Greg, you'll have to catch up because Liam Hendricks had a hell of a week last week. He was on fire.
There you go. See, that's what I mean. So I was
and
dogging
Craig
him this
Kimbrough
whole
did
show, but he's on his hot streak now. So I like his intensity. I just don't know if that is going to help or hurt when the playoffs start, because sometimes you need that calm guy in the bullpen, but it works both ways. I'm not saying a fiery guy like that can't work in the playoffs. I just someone that's more steady and calming presence is more trustworthy in my opinion, but it's not an exact science by any means. So
I think
I'll be
Hendrick,
rooting for you guys. I'll definitely root for you guys if you can help me retire that L flag. I got a big gripe with that. If you get that retired, you guys are at the game on Saturday.
I'll see what I can do.
Absolutely
Talk
not.
to your brethren on Saturday and get this worked out.
I will help them wave that flag. I'm sorry.
we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that if you get the wave out of our field.
Yeah, you guys, between that and the cup snake, it's like contagious around here with the goofballs in Chicago. So we're trying to rid all stupid traditions like that. There's no question about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. But Greg, again, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time. I know you've been all over the place the last 4.5 days, so thank you for giving us over an hour of your time, man. We appreciate you.
Anything,
And make sure you guys follow Greg on Twitter, Facebook, social media, the whole shebang. Greg is one of a kind, the best in the business, Greg. So we appreciate you. As always, love you, brother.
Appreciate you, brother. I'll talk to you guys here soon. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Greg. Hope
Thanks,
to see
man.
you this weekend.
Bear down.
Bear down, boys.
down.
Later,
All
Greg.
day.
And that was Greg Braggs Jr., everybody. Somehow I removed Gonzo from there. I did that on accident. So sorry, buddy. Honest to
worried
God,
we
that was
lost
a
him.
mistake.
Was not an accident.
It actually was, but that's all right. But yeah, a huge thank you to Greg Braggs Jr. for giving us so much time and just great content, talking Sox, Cubs, and a little bit of Bears talk in there too. But with that said, we're going to take a quick commercial break after this quick word from our Barroom sponsors. So we'll see you guys here in about 3 minutes.
South Burbs Hitmen will be right back.
It's the Mikey Bet Show, the Mikey Bet Show. Do you know the Mikey Bet Show?
Burbs Hitmen.
And we are back. Thanks, everyone, for sticking around with us for a great interview with Greg Braggs Jr. talking Sox Cubs ahead of this weekend series. And, of course, during that interview, the Sox lost their game with the Blue Jays today. 2-1 was the final. Close game. Lance Lynn, another great outing, wasted. Vinnie Parisi, I'll toss to you first, man. What are your takeaways from this first game against the Jays?
Tim Anderson is wildly important to the Chicago White Sox. When he's not leading off the game, it puts everybody up a spot in the lineup. And there have been plenty of times in this game and the two that they lost to Tampa Bay where there were runners on second and third, and someone like Danny Mendick or Sebi Zavala would come up to bat, when in reality it should be someone like Robert or Jimenez or Moncada and Tim or Hernandez, depending on how Tony decides to shake up the lineup. I'm not blaming all three losses on the fact that Anderson was there, but you saw how he impacts games as recently as Friday. And when you take out a stud like that, a batting champion, a championship caliber player like that, it impacts everyone. And if you got someone like Moncada getting hot now, and Jimenez is playing real well, and Robert's starting to hit, and we all know about Abreu, you put Tim Anderson in front of those guys, and it changes everything. So I'm annoyed that they ended up losing 2-1. It felt like the type of game that Anderson would have impacted.
Yeah, and I agree. But, guys, I got to ask, too, now with it being 3 games that we haven't seen Tim, are you guys a little bit worried about, whatever his soreness is he's dealing with? Is it just a little bit of rest to get ready for the postseason? Gonzo, you're shaking your head. Thoughts?
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent at being cautious with the players throughout the season. So I just think they're resting Tim up kind of similarly with what they'll probably have to do with Abreu coming up here as well. And they're doing the same with Rodon, because I know Chuck had Rodon on in his podcast last week, and even Rodon, because Chuck asked him, how's the shoulder? And he's like, what shoulder? Like, we can call it whatever it is, but, I'll be ready when when Tony says so. Similarly to, everyone else, I think Timmy will be back here hopefully by the weekend here. I imagine he would be. And we'll be ready to roll. But like Vinny said, this is very important. Go ahead, Vinny.
There's been one thing brought up more than once, and it's the fact that Tampa Bay and Toronto both are on turf, and Tim Anderson's dealing with leg soreness. So I don't know if that's a reason. I'm not a doctor. I don't play on turf. I think both stadiums kind of stink. But I just wonder if they were playing at home, would Tim Anderson be playing and not feeling as sore? Because I'm sure that running like that on turf impacts the legs a little differently than if it was just some soft dirt.
It also begs the question, because the Rays just got to Toronto, because they were playing in Buffalo at the AAA stadium. So if this was still in Buffalo, would TA be out there on the natural grass surface and that AAA field?
Possible.
But it's possible, but who knows? I think it's just precautionary. They'll get him back probably by the weekend with the Cubs here at home, and we'll probably see Rodon as well. So
if it were the playoffs, he'd be playing.
Yeah, I'm confident of that as well. And Steven Zimmerman, let me toss to you quickly. I know we just talked all about the Cubs Sox series with our buddy Greg Braggs Jr., but after this Jays series, we got to go and take it to the Cubs, because we need to go on a big streak here. Of course, they got to finish off the Jays in a big way, but first off, how important is it to set the tone against this Cubs team? And secondly, are you damn excited to be here for 2 of the games in that series?
I'm absolutely excited. It's going to be a great weekend of baseball, and I'm very excited to be a part of it. But I think the word you used right there, tone setter, is exactly what it's got to be. They have got to go in there, especially the way that they performed the last couple of days. 2-1 is kind of a heartbreaker, but you can almost deal with a 2-1 loss a lot more, at least, than you can deal with a 9-0 loss. So
yeah.
That's where they got to break the habits. They got to, avoid giving up those big leads, trying to come back from down by a whole bunch, and just, hang with the teams. Because as bad as the Cubs are, they're a team that if you let them hang around, they're going to hurt you. So That's
Yeah,
it. It's got to be the tone setter. They've got a good stretch of games coming up here against some teams that are favorable matchups, I guess we can say, is probably the best way to put it. And they have to do well against these teams because that's how you get hot leading into the playoffs. Another thing we discussed with Braggs, getting hot at the right time. The Sox have the opportunity to do it, so they need to take care of business and get it done.
Yeah, they do. And we have a good question here from PZ. Does anyone have numbers on the Sox offense on the road? I don't have them in front of me, but I can tell you that they're definitely not the same team on the road. I do think home field advantage is a crucial thing that this team has to start thinking about and go on a stretch run to win. I know that AL East is really good, and home field's probably going to be really tough to get after the first round of the playoffs, and we might not even have it for that. But I do think home field advantage is a big deal for this team because I feel like right now they feel like they're night and day different. Vinny, do you feel that same way?
I do. Their record reflects it. They're one of the best home teams in all of baseball. The only team that really rivals them is actually a really bad team, and I'm talking about the Colorado Rockies, who are currently, oddly enough, beating the Cubs on the road because they are literally one of the worst road teams of all time. But I'm trying to find their splits between home and road offensively.
I got them.
You got them?
Yeah. So offensively, we're looking at a difference of 23 runs less on the road, about 24 hits less on the road, about 19 home runs less on the road, and about 10 batting points lower on the road, with an on-base percentage about 20 points lower. So while it's all lower, I don't think it's really significantly lower, in my opinion. That's just me. Things are going to vary at home versus on the road. You're always going to be a little better at home. Well, most of the time you're going to be a little better at home. The more concerning part to me is the pitching on the road. Pitching on the road is not good. Opponents are batting over 300 against the Sox. That's on-base percentage. My mistake. But they're batting 25 points higher on the road. They're giving up a half a run. They've got a half a run higher on their ERA. They've got 60 less strikeouts on the road than at home. To me, it's these. Okay, here's your big one. They've blown 10 saves on the road and 12 at home. The blown saves are what's going to kill you no matter what.
Sure.
That is strange.
Yeah,
I know Dylan Cease has worse numbers on the road, but I'm trying to think of other starters. I can't really pinpoint. I know Giolito had that game at Fenway.
Keuchel's been brutal on the road, but
Keuchel's been bad. But more than anything, it's been the bullpen on the road.
So you have to wonder if Tony's managing them differently on the road, though, too. And I'm not trying to sit here and put blame on Tony, but when it comes to the bullpen, it's what could the difference be? I know baseball tactically, you have an advantage at home because if you score in the bottom of the ninth, you win. But in terms of the 1 through 8 inning grind, how different is it? I don't know. I wonder if it's because they're young and all that, but I don't know. It's an issue.
Well, you guys perfectly set it up because, you talked a little bit about our buddy Tony LaRussa. So with that said, let's take a deep dive into LaRussa's locker. Yeah, so we talk about Tony's decision making this week, and I think that's a great thing to talk about is, how does he manage this team differently on the road? And that's one of the things I actually had in here is that the team looked a little flat in the Tampa series. Obviously, the first game they pulled off. Tim Anderson single-handedly won that game by himself for the most part. But the other 2 games, this team looked flat. They didn't look like they wanted to be there. They just lacked an energy. And I don't know if that's just my imagination. So I got to put it around the table here. Did you guys see that lack of energy this weekend in Tampa Bay? Because I sure did. Gonzo, let me lead it off with you. How do you feel about what they showed this weekend in Tampa Bay?
Well, it's weird because that first game, Tony didn't really play too much with the lineup, and everyone was, healthy and where they would be.
I swear that was an accident.
Where they would be in the lineup, and they were going off. But then TA's battling that soreness, and then Tony starts to tinker with the lineup a little bit, but he did so for the next 3 games, and right after an A series where they went off. So, I mean, I get it. Next couple of weeks, he's probably going to tinker with the lineup to see exactly who he wants to put where going into the middle September stretch to the postseason. And same with the pitching rotation. He's going to tinker with that too and rest some guys, but I'm not, as much as I would have loved to see him not really tinker around too much and just kind of get some consistency going. I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's tough for him to tinker when this is a key stretch of some contending teams here. So yeah, it's an interesting place to be, but I guess I'd rather play it safe on the safe side here, especially where, I mean, we can all say that they might not have a shot at the first seed, but I think it's really going to come down to Sox and Houston for the 1 seed. If you look at the schedule remaining here, I don't really consider Tampa, New York, or Toronto for it, just because they're going to be battling it out in the East, that there's going to be some games lost, and that is going to really hurt the seeding on the East teams, I believe. So it's really going to come down to, I believe, is Houston and the White Sox. But yeah, maybe I'll have a bold prediction next week when I get to see a little bit more baseball here. But overall, I'm not really too worried about it. I do like to see how the Sox, I get that the Yankees beat us 1-5 in the series, but really we were in, probably 5 of those 6 games we were in it for the most part. Could have gone either way. We beat the A's, and we have beat both Toronto and Tampa Bay right before the first half ended. Granted, it was at home, so I would have loved to see what we could do away now versus them. But at the same time, Sox were pretty dominant against them, and I'm not really too worried about how this past series went. I mean, I would have loved to see the Sox begin this series with a win to start it off, and Lynn was doing his thing, and the offense just wasn't there. So hopefully the Sox can turn around here the next couple of games. That's what I hope, but we'll see.
I hope so too, man. And I hope I'm not looking too deep into things, but I feel like they just been a different team on the road to me, and that's just something I just want to keep an eye on. Hopefully Tony gets the reins figured out with it now, as opposed to when it's too late. So another thing I wanted to talk about, guys, is starting pitching decisions. As a whole on the year, I feel Tony has been up and down. The last month and a half of the season, he's been pretty good, but I feel like the last 2 weeks or so, it's been a little inconsistent. Steven Zimmerman, I see you bobbing your head over there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's been inconsistent for sure, especially considering with Rodon out. I thought maybe we would see some more Kopech come in, and instead it's been Reynaldo Lopez the whole time. And while Lopez, made the most of his first 2 starts, I don't recall. He got the start yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that says enough right there that he wasn't up to snuff at this point, and that's kind of what got him sent back down to AAA. So while using him as a spot starter can be effective at times, I think it's been shown that you kind of have to limit him. You have to. I don't even know exactly how to describe what I'm thinking with him. It's just you got to put him in more of a position to succeed. And going up against the hottest team in baseball, he's not going to succeed. That's just all there is to it.
Sure, and they are on a tough stretch, and we've talked about that. They are going against the gauntlet right now, but I think it really helps humble this team, and I think that's PZ in the chat says, do you think Tony is just trying to keep everyone ready? I think that's a valid point. I mean, sure, you got so many players on this team that you got to keep fresh.
I think that's why Rodon's on the injured list right now. I think it's because that was the only way they could get him to take a couple days off.
Yeah, there's only really inconsistency due to the fact that Rodon's out, so the back end of the rotation is kind of rough right now with Keuchel and Lopez here. Lopez off the bullpen was solid, but then once he's starting to get a couple starts here, he looks back to his normal self. Well, which is rough because with the back half of the rotation, you want to see Keuchel step up, get some quality starts here, but he's not doing so. he had one quality start in like his last 3 or 4 starts, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is kind of upsetting. But at the same time, Lynn's been dominant. Cease has been one of the top 10 pitchers in the AL and really all of baseball at this moment. It's kind of crazy his progression over this past year. And Giolito, bouncing back and forth. He had a really great start. What was it? Was it Yankees or A's? I think it was A's. But
A's.
Yeah. And then, he's going back and forth, but at the same time, I'd like to see that start that, he had versus the A's. So, if Cease and Giolito, continue to progress here towards the end of the season, it's going to speak volumes, I think, with, the remaining starts left. Because I don't think that Tony's going to really limit or rest Lynn at all, because Lynn has shown over his past 3 years that he's going to be a guy that's going to eat 200 innings up, and I think right now he's at like 140-ish, if I remember right.
And he's on pace to win a Cy Young on top of it.
Yeah, so you just continue to let him eat. Rodon's the one, like, we were all worried about where his shoulder would be, and could he remain healthy for a full season? And I don't know. I said that they're being, precautious with him, but who knows really? I'm not their medical doctor, so I don't know if he had any soreness at all. But I like that they erred on the side of caution to rest him, so he's great. He's feeling great for remaining of the stretch here. So yeah, altogether, the only thing I'm worried about is really Keuchel. But I don't think we'll really need him, so I'm not really too worried. At the end of the day.
Really quick. Lynn is the guy game 1 for me. I think that's pretty obvious. He might win the Cy Young. He increased his chances tonight for that.
Absolutely.
I know Ohtani's in the mix now. Rodon is still in the mix. There are a couple guys in the mix. Game 2, I go Giolito at this point because Rodon, he still has to prove to me he could do it for the whole season, and we're all going based on 4 months of significant success. Then Rodon and Cease, you got them. Keuchel, you put him in the bullpen, see what he can do. I remember what Boston did with David Price back in 2018. It worked out for them. Like a good pitcher who was good his whole career, struggled a little bit. There were some younger guys that were better. The White Sox can do the same thing. But for the most part this season, even if you blame it on bad luck, Dallas Keuchel has been a dud. And that leads us to Adam Dud of the Week.
You suck.
You suck.
Stupid. Lousy. No excuse.
What a dud. What a total dud.
What a perfect setup, Vinny. Dallas Keuchel has been a dud all season long, and he's on my dud list this week. Dallas just does not seem to have any consistency. He's just not himself, and something's clearly awry. I feel like I have him on my list every single week. He's not the Dallas Keuchel that we were expecting to have. Yeah. So he's got like a permanent place. Like I took out like the hieroglyphic with the stone and I kind of carved it there. Dallas is permanently on my dud list moving forward, which I know is maybe he'll take that as motivation to get off of the list because it's going to take quite some effort for me to get that off of my wall. But anyway, Dallas Keuchel has been a dud. There's no way around it. But there's been a bunch of other guys that pooped the bed this week. Not to put it lightly. So I'll let you guys give some nominations. Why don't we start with you, Gonzo? Who is on one of your duds for the week?
I went with Keuchel as well, not only with his rough performances, but I can't stand how a veteran like him goes to quickly bash his teammates around him. I just hear a lot of negativity from him, and I just don't understand. Like, I get it early in the season when he's calling them out, but not at this moment when it's your performance that is making the negative impact and not the team. And you got to take responsibility of that and accountability and, as a veteran, move forward and say it's on you and throw it in the trash and keep moving forward and keep battling. So because of his negativity and bad performances, Keuchel's my Adam Dud of the week.
Yeah, Keuchel's been brutal, to put it lightly. Vinnie Parisi, who's on your dud list for this week?
I got to go with Kimbrough. I love Craig Kimbrough. I love Craig Kimbrough. I agree. I think they should both be closers. I think arguing over it is stupid. But I mean, if this is what we're gonna get in the 8th inning, put him in the 9th. Rotate them. It's not that difficult. You need bullpen arms. There are so many ways you can set it up. And tonight wasn't really his fault. There were some people blaming Zavala for that pass ball in tonight's game. I actually think that was more on Kimbrough personally. But I mean, I'm not blaming him tonight. I'm not calling tonight the same way, like blowing the lead against the Cubs, even though that was a little bit of luck. I agree with Braggs. There have been a couple games where he, wasn't as good. I'm not putting tonight necessarily in that category, whether you want to say it was Zavala or Kimbrough tonight. It doesn't really matter. It's an unlucky play. Like, that kind of crap happens. Yeah. But other than tonight, like, when the Ponytail Gang is on, they're on. They're one of the best trios in the league. And I know I could see someone bringing up Kopech. I'll give an honorable mention to him. He just got destroyed by Matt Olson, who will hit any, great
any and
pitcher
everything.
to Pluto. He'll take any great pitcher to Pluto. I'm not really mad about the way that A's game went with Kopech. Like, for the most part, he's been a stud too. But Kimbrough, I just want to see that Cubs Kimbrough again from earlier this season. I know it's in there, and it'll especially be in there at home. And there are some games coming up in late August and early September once we get past the Jays that should really help him have that confidence ready to go for the playoffs. So I'm kind of happy that all the guys that come to mind for this segment are guys that I can make a legitimate, unbiased, almost excuse for. And not necessarily an excuse, but see why it's not going to last based on logic and evidence.
Could I add real quick to that?
Go real quick.
I completely agree with Vinny there. That I wouldn't even blame Kimbrough in this situation, but I do believe that you don't mess with this situation because you could make it worse by going back and forth. I think what really lately hurt the situation was, and we didn't even talk about it with Tony's segment, but when he quickly got away from Kimbrough during this past series in a situation where you probably should leave him in to get some outs, and Tony even responded after the game that was on him. That did hurt the situation, but then again, I think there's just a situation where Kimbrough is going to definitely come back and gain confidence, and Tony just has to trust him to get key outs, and I know he will. So, is there a situation where you just keep at it and get trust from your pitchers and from your manager here?
Yeah. No, Kimbrough
point.
had a look on his face after the pass ball tonight that sort of, I don't want to say he was like mad at Zavala specifically, but like it did look a little bit like, you called that pitch, you better effing block it. Like, so yeah, I get that. Like, it's not necessarily on him. He's gonna bounce back. I think he'll be fine. No, my dud of the week goes to Cesar Hernandez. He's done not a whole lot at the plate for the Sox so far since being acquired. His defense has been fine, above average. But, if we wanted above average defense and nothing at the plate, we could have gone out and gotten Yolmer Sanchez for free. So, without having to trade up stuff, you know what I mean? But 11 Ks in a week, he's not seeing something. And that's a little concerning considering like he's in the same division that he's been in. He's not really seeing any different opponents or seeing anything that he hasn't already seen so far this year. So, hopefully he gets his head on straight and can figure it out as we get closer to the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. Cesar's a guy I was really down on this week, specifically because I picked him for my pick to cook last week, so I was definitely down on him. But honorable mention as well. We talked about everybody. I don't got to talk about Kopech again because everyone's going to have a bad week here and there. But
right.
There are guys that I feel like we've had more good weeks than bad weeks all year, given this team's record. And why don't we put it on the board?
Ball hit deep, way back. He looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Yeah, I mean we're putting it on the board with players that knocked it out of the park this week. In more ways than one. I got to say, guys, I'll let you guys give your nominees first, but there's been a couple guys that have been lights out for the last 2+ weeks. We could keep on this list, but why don't I go to you first, Zim? Who are you putting it on the board this week as someone that lit your pants on fire?
Oh, it's my pick to click, Tim Anderson. Easy. He hit a great home run that that put them into extra innings and allowed them to win the one game that they won against Tampa. Sorry, I wanted to say the Yankees, and I was like, I know that's wrong. Against Tampa. Very clutch moment. He had a good stat line. And on top of it, I think my argument for his pick to click of this week is made a little stronger in the fact that he hasn't played the last 3 games and they haven't scored the last 3 games. They put up a stat during tonight's game that innings in which Tim Anderson gets a hit this season, the Sox are averaging more than 2 runs an inning when he gets a hit in that inning. When they don't get a hit from Anderson in the inning, they're averaging about a half a run an inning. So every 2 innings that Tim Anderson doesn't get a hit, they score 1 run. That's bad. That just tells you what a spark he is for this team and this offense, and how he really is the MVP, right next to the Rookie of the Year candidate, Andrew Vaughn.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the straw that stirs the drink for this White Sox team. I don't think there's any way around that. But, Timmy had a great week. Can't argue with that. Vinnie Parisi, who's your put it on the board player of the week?
I don't know if it was decided who won pick to click. I think there's 2 that are pretty obviously in the front out of the 4 of us, but I'm going to go with someone that actually none of us picked, and that's Yoan Moncada.
Yes.
I'm sick and tired of people ripping on this guy. Yoan Moncada is one of the best players on the team. He is a plus defender at a position that he just started playing over the last 2 or 3 years. It's a very important position, a very difficult position to play. They call it the hot corner for a reason. And he's going to go through cold spurts just like any other. I wouldn't necessarily call him a contact hitter or a power hitter. He's like a middle of the pack of both. But, this is a great player. And if he's, the worst hitter in the lineup, that's a damn good lineup because he'd be batting 3rd, being the highest run producer on 20 of the 30 teams in the MLB. I almost said NHL. Get over it. This guy, he's a star. I don't know if he's a bona fide superstar because he's kind of quiet and he doesn't have the same it factor that you feel with Eloy Jimenez or Luis Robert or Tim Anderson, but he's just kind of like a silent assassin out there, and you don't really realize when he's doing good, and I feel like I don't even realize when he's doing not so good. The only thing that I hate about him is him not swinging the bat at borderline pitches with 2 strikes. Nobody would benefit more from robot umpires in the history of the sport than Moncada, but we don't have those. So, you got to protect the plate with 2 strikes, Yohan. That's my only beef with you whatsoever. I know you're watching. My only beef with you is not swinging at borderline pitches with 2 strikes. You got to protect the plate because these umpires stink and they're getting worse and worse, and you're getting rung up more than anyone. But other than that, if he starts hitting those gaps and maybe just a couple more home runs, this is a superstar. And I want him batting in the middle of my lineup for the next 7 to 10 years, depending on how things go. With the guys protecting him in the lineup that are there, 10-game hit streak, Yohan, let's go.
Beautiful thing, man. I love it. Yeah, Yo-Yo's been lights out this year, getting a lot of bad rap for no reason. Chris Gonzalez, who is your put it on the board player of the week?
My put on the board player of the week is going to be Liam Hendricks. After we got done with our episode last week, he had a 5-out save, crucial save in a situation versus the A's that we needed, and then he had a really hot week after that. So Liam Hendricks, way to bounce back and keep chugging.
Keep on chugging, man. And there it is right there. Hendricks 2 1/3, 0 earned runs and a save. He's been lights out this week. Cannot argue with it. And last but not least, I'm going to go with Luis Robert. Lubob, 6 for 19, 316, 3 ribbies, and a run. As Vinny mentioned, it was between 2 guys for the pick to click for the week. And let's get over to that section now. Of course, last week's pick to click, I went with Cesar Hernandez. who was a whopping 4 for 27, batted like 148 with 11 strikeouts. So I lose. I should probably lose 5 picks for picking him this week. Gonzo went with Eloy Jimenez, who actually cooled down this week. 6 for 26 with 4 ribbies, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, and 1 walk. A lot of strikeouts for this White Sox team this week, more so than usual. A lot of bad swings. Hopefully that gets corrected here throughout the rest of the road trip, and then definitely playing the Cubs this weekend. Vinny took Luis Robert, who I mentioned, did a great week. 6 for 19, 316, 3 ribbies, 1 run scored. And Zim took Tim Anderson in limited action. He went 5 for 14, 357 with a homer, 3 ribbies, 4 runs, and a stolen base. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to Zim this week just because in limited action, Tim came through big time for this team. And as we mentioned throughout the game, this episode, we felt his presence missing the last 3 games. He really is the straw that stirs the drink. And I feel like I'm going to say that all the time now about Tim Anderson. So, Vinny, you were really close, but I made the call for this one to go to TA, but it was super close.
I would have given it
probably
to him
gone either way.
100%. There is a sense of, like, this analogy is used a lot. If a player gets hurt and it's like, oh, the team starts to stink, it proves their MVP candidacy even more. Like where would the Angels be if they had Shohei Ohtani and Trout right now? They'd still probably be 500 because they're the Angels, but like that's a bad example. But like, a guy wins the MVP, then he gets hurt the next year and the team stinks.
That's
it's
right.
Like, oh, now we know he should have won the MVP. So Tim Anderson, he deserves to be the winner for this week, especially after the way Friday panned out.
Yeah,
Right,
no doubt.
Just like Peyton Manning should have been the 2011 MVP, right?
Oh, was that the year he got hurt?
That's the year he got hurt and the Colts went 1-15.
Yeah. And then they drafted Andrew Luck and pushed him out the door.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing, but
there it goes, and it's gone. But let's go ahead and pick our pick the clicks for this week, and we'll go in updated standing order. Of course, I'm 5 for 23. Zim is also now 5 for 23.
Yeah.
Gonzo 10 for 23, and Vinny is 3 for 15 now, updated standings. So with that said, Zim got the win. So Zim, you get to go first. Who is your pick to click heading into this week? Okay, wow, that was fast.
10-game hit streak. Ride the hot hand. This dude. Okay, and I tell you what, he's gonna hit one right here on Saturday. I'm gonna catch one. I know we're gonna be sitting in foul territory, but that's fine because it's still gonna have to go a long way to get to us, and I'm okay.
Could be right size, wrong shape. I mean, it's possible.
That's right. And he's gonna straighten it out the next pitch, by the way, and bomb it. But by the way, if that actually happens, I feel like I should get like double points. But
yeah, no,
is he going to be batting right-handed? Is he going to be batting right-handed on Saturday?
I don't even know who the starters are.
That's your best bet as for a foul ball, I would say.
Oh yeah. I don't know where I'm sitting Sunday, so you could give me one then too.
Fair enough.
We'll see, but it's a good call. I like it. So we're gonna give our next in the standings. Vinny gets to go next. Vinny, who you're gonna pick? Oh, there it is.
This man loves playing the Cubs. He loves his mom. He loves having his jersey unbuttoned 3/4 of the way. And I love him with my whole heart. I would do anything for this man. I would literally do anything for him. Eloy Jimenez, you're coming to play the Cubs. I expect a big rest of the series from you against the Toronto Blue Jays. You've been a little, I don't want to say quiet because you're still hitting like 350 since going 2 for 22 to come back from injury. But like, I expect a big series against those Chicago Cubs from him. He loves playing them. He despises that he was traded. He really wanted to play there. Now he's happy that he's not there, I would imagine. So, hi, Mom. Eloy Jimenez. Bring me a win.
All right, so Vinny going with Eloy Jimenez. I like it a lot. I get to go next here, and I feel like, man, I don't know if he's going to do it or not. It's kind of a risky pick, but I feel like he's going to come back, and he's going to pick right back where he left off. So I'm going to go with Tim Anderson as my pick to click. There's a very possible he doesn't play at all. I'm sure he does, but if he doesn't come back, then I'll look really stupid. But I feel like if he comes back, he's going to be fired up. And Tim likes playing the Cubs too, let's be honest. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to go with Tim Anderson. So that's my pick to click for the week. Chris Gonzalez, our reigning champion at the moment. Who are you going to go with? I'm assuming you want to go with Dallas Keuchel for this week.
Very close. I know PZ. I know PZ wanted Keuchel, but I'm gonna go with the man that PZ didn't want, and it's gonna be Dylan Cease. Hopefully, he gets the second start in this week, but that's a guy that has potential to get 2, and I believe he's gonna start tomorrow off hot, and hopefully we tie up the series here with the Jays here, and then. Hopefully he gets that second start on Sunday versus the Cubs and gets 2 wins this week. So I'm going to go with Dylan Cease as my pick to click.
There you go. A quick recap. I'm going with Tim Anderson, Zim with Moncada, Gonzo with Dylan Cease, and Vinny with Jaimam Eloy Jimenez. So great pickups there. Yes, Zim.
Just real quick, honorable mention. Keep an eye on Yasmani Grandal. He's expected to come back for this Cubs series. And he has been tearing it up down at AAA for the Knights right now. He batted something like 450 with like 3 or 4 home runs in his first week with the team. He's seeing the ball as well as he was before his injury. So coming back, I expect him to pick up right where he left off. And as I recall, he wasn't playing too terribly before he got hurt.
Yeah, and I will say the bullpen seemed to be better when he was healthy. So he's going to be calling 100%. Some pitches with those guys. So that's another thing to look out for. When he comes back, this bullpen is going to change, and I think it's going to change for the better because Kimbrough hasn't worked with him yet. Yes, Vinny?
I was told he was ready. And, why? Bring him to Toronto when you could just have him come play against the Cubs.
Right.
So I'd be a little surprised if they bring him back based on what I was told before Friday. But if he's not back on Friday, then in turn I would be a little surprised again.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we will play it by ear, and we'll be there to tell you about it on Saturday, and it was him on Sunday. And Vinny, if you show up, do you know what days you're coming yet?
Me to the game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. Everything's up in the air with me for the weekend. I'm not positive on anything. I want to get to at least one of the 3. But we'll see what happens.
We shall find out. Either way, it's going to be a fun weekend, so we don't want to miss that. But now we're getting to the part of the show where we're going to talk about this upcoming week. And Gonzo, what is this segment called?
This segment's called Pale House Weekly.
Yeah, buddy. So why don't you just take us through and let's talk a little bit about the schedule this week. Obviously, this first game is over. We lost 2-1, but preview the rest of the week for us.
Yes, we got 4 games at Toronto Monday through Thursday, and then Friday through Sunday at home versus the Cubs. 3 games at home, and like you said, Joe, tonight was Lynn versus Minot, the second matchup that they've had to face each other this season, and like last time, Minot got the better half of our Sox, and Lynn did have a really solid game. But sadly, that's how it's gone twice now. But matchup tomorrow we haven't seen before. But it's going to be an interesting one for sure. We have Dylan Cease versus Jose Barrios. Yes, the Barrios from the Twins was traded to the Jays at the deadline and going off against our boys. And then game 3 is going to be Giolito and Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray might be one, the better pitcher for the Jays this season, which is, southpaw you have to be careful with. Sox beat up on him last time, but hopefully Giolito bounces back strongly and continues, his performances here as of lately. But that's actually game 3 is going to be my game of the series for pitching wise, and then game 4 is Keuchel versus Rue. And that ends the series, and I think they're going to split the series, but hopefully they do better. And then who knows what really back half of the week is really going to look like. But from what I'm guessing, it might be Rodon versus. I think Rodon's going to come back Friday and go off against. I would guess Kyle Hendricks. I think Saturday's game is looking like Lynn versus Thompson. I don't know too much about Thompson, but if you guys do likely get Lynn, it'll be a good game to be at. And then game 3 is going to be interesting, as that's going to be Dylan Cease versus Mills, likely. Ooh. But let's see how Tony goes about the rotation. If Rodon does come back this weekend series, or if they're going to keep Lopez in there on Friday. We'll have to keep our eyes on that. I'm just taking a hunch that Rodon's coming back. But yeah, if that's how the series goes, I think we should expect a royal sweep of the Cubbies. And then your hitters to look at. Clearly, it's going to be Vlad Jr. of this series, triple crown candidate.
Home run tonight.
Yes.
No, RBI single.
Oh.
Losing my mind.
309 batting average, 36 home runs, 89 ribbies. Guys, just a beast. And then the Cubbies, Wilson Contreras, 226 batting average, 17 home runs, 40 ribbies.
Hey, keep an eye on Frank Schwindel. I know that Braggs wasn't too high on him, but he did win NL Player of the Week just last week. Not this previous week, but the week before. Dude can hit. He really can. So just somebody to keep an eye on in that series that, you don't know a whole lot of names on the Cubs anymore. So
he was an impact player tonight.
Yeah, it's hard for me to have a game of the series for that pitching wise for the Cubs, but if it is Rodon versus Hendricks, that would be on Friday for me. But other than that, Go ahead, take it away.
Wouldn't surprise me if Rodon came back Thursday.
What's up?
Wouldn't surprise me if Rodon came back Thursday against the Jays. I don't know if he's with them in Canada. I can probably find out. But
we mentioned the White Sox. They say on the website it is TBD at this point in time. So I think you could be onto something there, Vinny.
Which would leave Lynn for Friday. You run Cease Saturday. And then
you'd have Keuchel you push back then.
Yeah. Keuchel.
So it'd be Keuchel,
Mills,
Lynn, and Cease would get bumped back to Monday.
Okay. So Lynn on Sunday versus Mills. I gotta say that Cease versus Mills matchup intrigues me a lot more than if it's Lynn versus Mills. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Either way,
his old team.
Either way, Lynn or Cease for in that game would be nice to see.
Yeah. Either way, we should see a good one on Saturday. Sam, that place is going to be popping. No pun intended. But like I said, we're also going to go to 35th Street Red Hots before the game. Zim and I are planning on getting there. The lot opens around 2:30, so I'll be there early to get my parking spot and then meet up with the Zimster. So lots of fun and shenanigans to be had this upcoming Saturday and this weekend at the Sox game. So if you want to come meet us, come hang out. I know our buddy Gabriel Silva in the chat room is always down to hang out, and anyone else wants to come out, Vincent Tassone, all you guys in the chat room, you're welcome to come meet us for a couple of dogs, and maybe more than a couple depending on how hungry we are. But Gabriel says he'll be there. So yeah, we'll see you there, buddy. But before we get out of here, we do want to talk about, we do have one guaranteed take that we're going to hit relatively quick. And of course I said the name of the segment before I had it queued up, but this is the guaranteed take. Yeah, this is the guaranteed take where we're going to have a conversation about something and get a roundtable here, and then we're going to get the chat room to comment on it as well. And this week's guaranteed take, it's an easy one. Are the White Sox now Chicago's team? It's a big question, and Zim answered it right away. Chat room, are the White Sox Chicago's team now? Are they the big team here in Chicago and Illinois and across the nation? Let us know in the chat room if you're still here. Let us know. But Zim, you were quick to say yes. Tell me why.
All right, so here's the thing. Denver is we root for our Rockies here, of course. You know, they are my National League representation, of course. If I root for National League team, it's the Colorado Rockies. But second, and I would say the Rockies might even be second to the Chicago Cubs around here. Back in the days before the Colorado Rockies, WGN was still broadcast in Denver, Colorado. And so, without a professional team to root for, locals rooted for the team that was on TV, the Chicago Cubs with their WGN deal. That's the case for a lot of the country right now. I'm just speaking from experience here in Denver that over the last 2 years, probably, I've seen a significant decline in the amount of Chicago Cubs, not just apparel being worn on the street, but merchandise being sold in the stores. And that is your biggest indicator to me, because if it's on store shelves, that means people are buying it, right? If nobody's buying it, it's getting booted. And you know what I am finding? I don't know, not a whole lot of anything, if I'm being completely honest with you. There's not Sox stuff out here. I'll tell you that much. I'm looking for Sox stuff. I'm not really finding it. Is Chicago a Cubs town? I would go as far as to say no, not anymore. Is it a Sox town? Not yet. I think it's close. I think from the outside looking in, you know, and I'm just giving you the perspective that I can give. Is it a Sox town? From the outside looking in, not yet. Could it be, though? Absolutely. I see a person wearing a White Sox hat almost every day now. I used to see Cubs fans with their crap all over their cars and their license plate holder. 2016 World Champions. Congratulations. You got your one. Sit aside for the next 108 years because some other teams are going to win a few now. I think the Sox are making a freaking case right now. And the country, like, it all started at that Field of Dreams game. The country started to take notice. Let's see what they do from here. If they win a postseason series, I would say that they could take Chicago. But as of right now, they're still the small market team.
Yeah, it's worth noting, too, you can't get a lot of White Sox merchandise because it's just flying off the shelves. Field of Dreams stuff, Vinny and I were at the game. You know, we can't find – he couldn't get a Field of Dreams jersey anywhere. He went to Grandstand. He went to the Chicago Sports Depot, you know, Dick's Sporting Goods, MLB.com. You just can't get it. It's hot. They're selling like hotcakes. So I tend to agree with you, Zim. Vinnie Parisi, are the White Sox Chicago's team now?
Are we talking baseball or sports?
Let's say specifically baseball, but overall,
sports,
you can tell me
who it's a Bears town. I cover all 5 teams for my job, and the Bears generate the most views without question, no matter what. It's not close. With that said, I do not think so. I'm sorry. I don't even think it's close. I think the White Sox are going to go through a phase. You'll see the guys who are just casual baseball fans that choose the White Sox over the Cubs. They'll bust out the Sox apparel a little bit over the next couple years while you got sweet players in a sweet team. The diehards of both teams will always be there. I think the diehards are about even. Maybe 55-45. I think the diehards are about even. The casual fan, it's always going to be Cubs. I live in the northwest suburbs. I'm actually the odd man out on the South Burbs Hitmen, being the guy from the northwest suburbs. But I went to the local Target the other day. There was one little shelf with White Sox gear. And I kid you guys not. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to go there tomorrow and take a picture, and we'll feature it on next week's show. There was hundreds of those disgusting blue shirts. I wanted to speak to a manager. The inner Karen almost came out of me. I wanted to speak to a manager. I could not believe what I was seeing. Baez, Rizzo, Brian. I'm like, these guys are gone. These guys are gone. No,
Were
Robert.
They on sale at least?
Like nothing. No. People are paying full price for this stuff. And so, no, I can't. I mean, I go to family parties and people are like, the White Sox are going to choke when the weather gets cold. I'm like, listen, guys, I do this for a living. If you want to have an intelligent conversation with me and chirp me like using baseball talk, go for it. You're going to need to come at me with something a little bit better than the weather. Okay. But like the Cubs will just always have the casual fan base more. Wrigley Field, I hate it. I went there a couple times. and it's just not an easy stadium to access unless you live right there. Parking's an a-hole. The
disaster.
The surrounding area is fun, but like the food is disgusting. The best thing there is like the typical hot dog. Guaranteed Rate Field is like a gourmet restaurant. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Sox fan.
No, you're not.
There are plenty of things that
fact.
they do better. There are plenty of things that they do better too. I'm not denying it. They market themselves better, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the way they treat Sammy Sosa, but that's a topic for another day. Like, they rebuilt their team. If the Cubs next year somehow miraculously they sign Wilson Contreras to an extension, Madrigal and Horner are clogging up the middle of their infield, and they find 2 or 3 starting pitchers that help them be like a competitive team, they're playing in the Field of Dreams game over the White Sox for a reason. I don't know. I just don't see it. We're always going to be, they can win 10 straight World Series, and then if the Cubs win 1, it's right back to being them. It might look like it for a while here, and we're going to have some shine. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be cool to like the White Sox on a national scope, but in the city limits, I don't see the White Sox ever overtaking the Cubs. And quite frankly, I'm okay with it.
I love it, man. I love that take. It's it's been a Cubs town for as long as I can remember, my whole life. And, I do see a bit of a turn of the tide, but I don't think it's enough to like get rid of it. Right. I mean, the Sox are like, I've seen the thing on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, the bandwagon application form, right? Like, it's cool to be a White Sox fan right now. And all of us were doing it before it was cool. Vinny, you got a thought?
Before you head over to Gonzo, and then I promise I'll shut the hell up. Each team has won the World Series in most adults' lifetime, right? So I think that like hatred that both have had for one another slowly it'll never leave me. I will always be that a-hole who like roots for them to go 0-162. But like I'm a nutcase. For the most part, I do think there are going to be more people who will be like, yeah, my second favorite team is the White Sox, or yeah, my second favorite team is the Cubs. Like that, I do agree is going to start to melt a little more. There'll always be us diehards who hate one another. But
Sure.
I do think that, and it also might make it appear that the White Sox are taking over the next 4 or 5 years while the Cubs rebuild and the White Sox compete for AL Central titles.
It's true, man. It's going to be a fun ride, and it may not be our town 100%, but it feels like it is right now. So
I don't want it
I will
to be.
take that.
I'll
take it any day of the week. Right.
I like when I'm like the odd man. I kind of enjoy it. Like when I go to Wrigley Field and I'm chanting, "Go Sox, go!" Like I love every second of being the villain.
Yeah, and plus we got better food at our ballpark, and we can take that with us forever.
That's not debatable.
It's not debatable at all. But speaking of someone who likes to debate, let me toss it to Gonzo. Is this a White Sox town now, Gonzo?
Yes, and I'm going to say only yes because the Cubs trade away their core. If they didn't trade their core away, I'd say it'd still be a Cubs town just with how much, they generate off of, that core. But in the end, it's, so now that they trade away the core, I think, that fan base is going to dwindle down. Yes, this offseason, I'm sure Hoyer can go pay, use the payroll and buy a team back, but that's not the way to do it. And that's just going to hurt. That's just going to hurt them in the end. And the Sox are doing it right with Hahn and the core that is, contracted out at this moment. This time is now to be a Sox fan, and this is Chicago City on the baseball side of it.
It's not going to last.
No, I don't think it is either, Vinny. But I think that's okay because
I agree.
It wouldn't be special if it didn't last. And
are you saying the fanage is not going to last, or the?
Yeah, because the Cubs will get good again. I'm not ignorant to that.
I mean, not if they're going to be using payroll to do it.
The Cubs are like, when like what's that animal that puts its head in the sand when there's danger?
Emu.
An emu,
Ostrich.
right?
Ostrich.
Ostrich. That's it. So Cubs fans are like ostriches right now. They kind of all disappeared. All of the ones that aren't diehard, let's put it that way, have kind of put their head in the sand, and they've buried themselves and kind of hidden away from society. And they are going to spend this offseason.
They're going to get one of those top shortstops. It's like a huge shortstop market. They are going to go for one of them, and I hope it's Correa. I hope it's Correa so bad. I want my least favorite player in all of baseball on my least favorite team in all of baseball. That will motivate me. Oh my, I need him on the Cubs.
That's so vindictive for no reason, and I love it.
Oh, I need it like I need air.
This is amazing. This is fantastic, guys. I love it. So I finally picked a guaranteed take that like is like hot button conversation. I feel good about it, and it's been fun. I just love what we can even have this conversation. It's pretty amazing that we can even talk about the Sox run in this town, and they will for October of this year. That's for certain. So at least we got that. But we have had a heck of a show. We had Greg Braggs Jr. from Braggs in the Stands previewing Sox Cubs with us and talking a little bit of football. A huge thank you to Greg. Go follow him on Twitter at Greg Braggs Jr. 23, I think is his handle, and then at Braggs in Stands. Greg is the man. Thank you from the bottom of our heart, Greg, for hanging out with us all night long. And we are going to get to the shout-outs portion of our show. I feel like I've always ended with Gonzo lately, so let me start with Gonzo here. Gonzo, what do you got for shout-outs?
Well, I'll make it short and sweet. I'm going to shout out Vincent on Facebook for his endless support lately. And as always, I'm going to shout out my girlfriend, Soraya. And that will be my shout outs for tonight.
Very lovely. Thank you, sir. Amazing as always. Steven Zimmerman, what you got for the shout out?
Hey, man, shout out to you, Joseph Mandel, for hooking me up with these tickets and giving me an excuse to make a trip out to Chicago for the first time since 2018. So
no problem, buddy.
I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to get to see these Sox in what could hopefully be a historic year. You know, I have a tendency of seeing our Chicago sports teams in seasons in which something historic happens. I saw the Blackhawks in their point streak to lead the season, or to open the season. I saw the White Sox back in 2005, last time they won the World Series. I saw the Bears in 2018 when they had that awesome defensive run. I saw the Bulls when Derrick Rose made his comeback after his ACL and meniscus injuries. How about that? So, yeah, all I'm saying is that if history continues as it's been, for my experiences, we should see something awesome the rest of this season with the Sox. And in addition to that, a shout out to so many of my family members who have also helped make this possible. You know, my dad, who's offered to potentially give me a ride to the airport. My partner, Brittany, who's allowing me to take this trip while she looks after the boys. My cousin, Nate, who's giving me a place to stay and also entertaining me for the rest of the time while I'm there and hooking me up with some tickets to Sunday's game. So, you know, it's just everything's really come together really nicely, and just shout out to everybody who's made that possible, because it's going to be an unforgettable weekend for sure.
It's going to be dynamite, man. And we'll be, like I said, heading to 35th Street Red Hots and a couple of local establishments. A little tip before you come, make sure you bring a little bit of cash. Some of those places are cash only for some reason. So
that was the intention, but I will make sure I do now.
Yeah, little Chicago thing. Some of these local places, and especially in the Bridgeport area, they like to do the cash only. So
I got like $8. I think that'll work. No, I'm just kidding.
It'll work if at 35th Street Red Hots. $8 can probably get you 2 hot dogs. But
nice.
But nonetheless, we're going to enjoy that, because I'm just salivating thinking about those dogs. Last time I was there was with Vinny and Chris and Joey. It was awesome. So long story short, looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be a blast. And last for I'll be last, but Vinny next up for shout outs. Vinny, what you got, buddy?
Yeah, of course, it's always my mom, dad, brother. Thank you so much for everything. But I also want to give a special shout out. I don't want to end on too sad of a note, but I do want to give a shout out to the hockey community. We lost someone big today, Jimmy Hayes. For those who don't know me, I'm very passionate about hockey. I'm just as passionate about it as baseball. And for someone to play for the New Jersey Devils, the Boston Bruins, and the Chicago Blackhawks, those are the 3 teams that mean the most to my family for various reasons. If you're a guy who plays for those 3 teams, you're obviously special to me. And I'm very sorry to hear, to Kevin, who plays for the Philadelphia Flyers, his family. Those guys are legendary in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I'm talking like a legendary family. And he was just one of the sweetest guys of all time. Everybody enjoyed his company, and he was a great help to the Devils and helping them build their young core, and, just a super nice guy. And I'm very sad, my condolences. I can't say much more without, breaking down a little bit. It's a sad day. So, shout out to the Hayes family. I'm thinking of everyone.
Absolutely, brother. And we send our thoughts and prayers as well, and to the whole hockey community, because definitely a big loss. And it's just shocking anytime you lose someone so young. I think he was 31 years old, something along those lines.
Yeah.
So it's
much too soon.
It's
much too soon to go at 31, but you can make the impact in 31 years. And Jimmy Hayes did that.
He certainly did. 334 games, 54 goals, 55 assists. Pretty amazing career for someone still so young. So our condolences to the Hayes family and the hockey community for sure. To wrap up the shout outs, I'll just toss it back to myself. Of course, I always shout out my wife, Catherine, and my 1.5-year-old Great Dane pup, Maverick. Love you guys with every ounce of my being, and our little family. It's the best thing in the world. And then, of course, I got to shout out everyone in the chat room tonight. It was a great show. My dad, Gabriel Silva, PZ, Ron Rupp now. I'm going to name you all because why the hell not? Vincent Tassoni, our buddy Lauro was there. Who else am I missing? King Pookie. The names just keep on going and going. We love you all. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And then, of course, I got to shout out everyone here on this show. Gonzo, Vinny, Steve, Steven. Sorry, I know you hate Steve. I appreciate all you guys more than you'll ever know. It's always fun doing this stuff with you. And it's just, it's an absolute dream to be able to do the show and kind of grow it the way we have. We did hit 1,000 followers on Twitter this week. So that's an exciting thing for us. And we appreciate all you guys out there that gave us a follow. Check out our content, whether it's you found us through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We love you guys. And we aim to bring you better and better content every single week. Guests, coverage, content, entertainment. We want to bring it all. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We love you guys. And then Zim, a special shout out to you just because I'm looking forward to hanging out with you at the Sox game on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. Hopefully I can catch my first Sox win of the year. I was telling Vinny, I've been to 6 games this year at home, and they've lost every single one. And they have a great home. They have a great home record. So I need them to finally win a game for me. So
I have never seen the White Sox lose at Guaranteed Rate Field. So.
Wow. Well, hopefully I don't change that for you.
I've never been to Guaranteed Rate Field. It was still U.S. Cellular last time I was there.
Okay. All right.
Joe brought my first loss of the season.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm an asshole. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what. If it starts looking bad, I'll just send you home and watch the rest of the game by myself.
Yeah, that's better.
Send them to 35th Street Red Hots early.
I'll meet you at 35th Street after the game.
I'll be like 6 hot dogs deep by the time you find me. So I'll be passed out on the red picnic table out front.
You gotta get Gonzo's 6 plain hot dogs.
Yeah, no, Gonzo goes. Sorry, we're gonna do a quick sidebar here. So I went with Vinny, his buddy Dylan, his buddy Joe, his brother Joey, Gonzo, and myself after the game we went to, and Gonzo goes in. He orders 2 plain hot dogs with nothing. Just plain.
I strongly contemplated, and I mean this with no exaggeration whatsoever. I strongly contemplated reaching out to law enforcement to have him arrested.
Like, the only thing worse than that is if you'd put ketchup on him.
I'd rather that.
See,
I'd rather see him do that.
Instead of eating my extra calories, I drink them. So there we go.
Yeah,
what calories?
Extra calories and tomatoes.
There's condiments. There's like 18
calories in those condiments. Damn it!
Unless you're drinking like
if you don't believe it, look
whatever
at
0 calorie crap Bush is pushing out these days. I don't know. Like,
you'd be surprised.
Well, I mean, you should have seen the look these people making the hot dogs gave me when I ordered 2 plain hot dogs for this guy. They looked at me. They're like, "Wait, just plain? Like nothing? Just the dog?"
They're looking around like
natural. I like that natural taste of the Vienna beef.
Well, that's why, like, Vinny and I are standing there. Vinny and I are standing there, and the lady's looking at me, and I'm like, "It's for this guy."
And I'm just smiling.
Throw them as far under the bus as you can reach.
Well, because I was ordering hot dogs for everybody, and I think what did I order? Like 9 hot dogs or something crazy. It was like they're probably like, what the hell is this guy going to go do with 9 hot dogs? But
9 hot dogs.
It was
and
delicious.
6 drinks.
That's right. We did. It was like 6 drinks. Yeah. So that was awesome. But you'll experience it all on Saturdays. And we're going to get there. We'll walk over. We can go to Grandstand, the whole shebang. So
sure.
We're going to do that. Make sure you come hang out with us if you want to. Around 2:30ish, maybe something like that. We'll be over there. We'll figure it out more concrete as we'll tweet it out on Twitter. How about that?
There you go. We'll live tweet the day. How's that?
Yeah, no, we could do that. We'll make
We'll
make
see
a day
what
of
happens.
it. Yeah, nonetheless, but it's been such a great time tonight, guys. Great show, a lot of fun, long show, but I swear we're wrapping things up. It's been so fun. Thanks again to Greg Braggs Jr. for hanging out with us. It's been great. We do not have a guest plan for next week. We might get one, we might not, but if not, we'll just do the show and just talk like we always do. It's always fun. We don't have to have a guest every week, but I feel like we have, which is pretty cool. So we'll do that. But with that said, it's time for us to get out of here. We got a comment here from my dad. Enjoy the game, guys. I'll be in Toledo for 3 shows, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Stay safe. Exciting stuff. And it's going to be a fun weekend. Let's take out the Cubs. Let's finish off the Jays this week. So for the South Burbs Hitmen, I am Joe Mandel. This guy over here, Steven Zimmerman, not Zimmerme, Steven Zimmerman. This is how you know I need to have some beverages, some not alcoholic, just water to stay hydrated. Steven Zimmerman. This is the worst close ever. I'm going to start this over again. For the South Burbs Hitmen, I am Joe Mandel. That's Steven Zimmerman. The guy below me, that's Chris Gonzalez. And the guy in the corner, Vinnie Parisi. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us all night. Let's go, White Sox. And it's a new day tomorrow. Let's take on these Jays and get a win. It's going to be a fun week. I forgot to promo the shows that are coming up. We got Mike North Advantage coming up tomorrow morning. We have Vinny. You guys are doing Bar Down Blackhawks talk tomorrow, and
Wednesday.
Then I don't know what day it is anymore. Yeah, that's Wednesday. And then are you guys doing Crosstown Crosstalk on Thursday?
Crosstown Crosstalk on Thursday. Make sure you come listen to me talk about how the White Sox are going to sweep the Cubs. Don't forget about Bulls 101, Braggs in the Stands, your fantasy football show, all of it.
Yeah, so many great shows on the network. Barfly Tailgate after all the before all the Bears games, and then you got Bear football post-game show afterwards. So much to look forward to, so little time here on the Barroom Network. Make sure you check out all those shows. And I swear this is the last time. For the South Burbs Hitmen, I'm Joe Mandel. That's Steven Zimmerman. For Chris Gonzalez and Vinnie Parisi, we will see you guys next week. God bless America. God bless baseball. And let's win some games. Let's go, White Sox. Bye, Mom.